It is 7 o'clock on December 8th, and I'm going to call the meeting to order. Can I have an acceptance of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is unanimous. Are there any walk-ins here this evening? Seeing none, we will move on. The report of the town administrator.
Good evening. I have several items to go through. I'll try to go through them as quickly as possible because I know you have a busy agenda. First thing, as you see in your packet, and I believe I communicated with you over the weekend, is that the town filed its letter on the revised FEMA flood maps that we received November 9th within the deadline. They were required to be sent to FEMA on Sunday, December 6th. The town, as you know, along with Duxbury and Marshfield, with the help of the federal delegation, had asked for an extension to review the maps longer than the 30 days. That request was not granted. We were notified of that late Thursday or Friday morning. So over the weekend, I worked with Leslie Fields and the town council of Marshfield, Bob Galvin, who's been doing the legal work for the three towns. And we were able to file that letter. It had to be mailed by 11 o'clock on Saturday morning by certified mail, and also it was emailed as well. After that, it went up on the website. It's been up on our website, and I sent it to Dave Ball, who shared it with all the beach associations. 400 people showed up at the meeting last Thursday. I know members of the board attended, which I think was appreciated by our residents. And once again, as we did 2 years ago, I really want to thank Bill Sheehan, Neil Duggan, Pat Galvin, Laura Harbottle. I'm sure I'm missing someone, Nancy Durfee, for spending time with our residents on this important issue. So, as you know, and just for folks at home, to recap, what this letter does is it points out a few of the errors that we believe resulted in the new maps because the methodology that was accepted under the town's appeal was not appropriately applied. In some instances, changes were not made, and FEMA's position was it applied the changes in the methodology only to the transects the town included in its original appeal. So in that case, you would find homes that had a 13-feet elevation beside homes that were in the transect with a 9-foot elevation. So obviously, we strongly believe that's unfair, somewhat discriminatory, and so that's the basis of our letter to FEMA, along with asking them to work collaboratively with us to work out these map changes. And I know a number of folks in the Lighthouse Road area were concerned about what the new revised maps indicated, and that was specifically included in the town's letter, as well as Thursday night in Leslie Field's remarks, that there was an error in the application of the town's methodology for that. So now we have to wait and see the result of that. And I would be remiss if I did not say that, you know, our residents would probably, this is a very complex and technical matter, and, you know, our residents are doing their best. We have a number of elderly citizens who are trying to understand what these maps meant, and the Coastal Coalition, I know, has helped a lot. So it really didn't help us and actually set us back in terms of providing accurate information to the town when the editorial was published in the Mariner last week. And I know you're all aware of that. We've encouraged the editor on numerous occasions to contact the town when there is information about a town matter, just to show, to see whether it's accurately understood. This is clearly a case where most of it was not understood, and I believe it provided a real disservice to our residents. So that's all I have on that.
Can we talk about that for 1 second?
Sure.
So, first, I just want to read what Tricia said in terms of thanking the people that showed up there. We had 2 tables going with about 8 PCs where everybody could really get a chance to look at their property and see how they were going to be impacted by this change. We also had the maps there, which I hadn't seen before that night, and you couldn't tell anything from looking at the maps. I was trying to look at the maps of people that were waiting in line to look at it, and you couldn't even tell where the first line was or where the second one started. So there's been a lot of talk about the timeline in terms of when we got things and when things were made available, and I can assure you that the town worked its hardest and its fastest to get everything to the public as quickly as possible. as soon as we got things and found out they were wrong, we contacted people. And again, as Tricia said, this is a complicated issue. You just can't look at a map and say, okay, clearly this is right or clearly this is wrong. In fact, Leslie Field said it was like starting from beginning again. It's not like they took our advice or our recommendations and just applied them. The whole map had to be reanalyzed again, and it took a lot of time. And Bill had to get a whole new GIS system up and running so that it could be seen. And now anybody that has any questions can just go to the town's website, click on a button, put in your address, and see right away where your property lands in terms of what the new mapping could be. Tricia worked tirelessly to get this letter out to them on Sunday under the deadline, and now it's kind of just waiting and see how they respond to this. And then at that point in time, we'll see what other actions we have in terms of legal options, as Mr. Dan, mentioned earlier, in an earlier meeting, or also just filing another appeal if they don't go down that path. So I want to just give kudos to everybody in the town that really, again, took a situation that was outside of the norm of the working day-to-day work and just worked really hard to take care of it under a quick time scale, and did a great job in doing it. So, and that article in the paper was ridiculous and really creates more problems and questions than providing good information to the citizens that read it. So I think it's just a piece of sensationalism going on there. But
can I just chime in there
Yeah.
for a second? All right. I talked to Ruth. Ruth wasn't the one who wrote the editorial. I did speak with the editor, and I spoke to the editor at length, and I explained to her exactly the things that had happened, because the impression was left that this town of Scituate had dropped the ball. And I just want to tell people, both here but also on TV, that's anything but the truth, from the truth. You got to remember, it was a 30-day period that you had to review these maps. And these maps are very technical. They're based on analytical data that, in order for the experts, Woods Hole Group, to go through, they have to go through and computate each reference point. And the reality is there are like over 30, I think it's 33 maps, or transects they call them. So you have to get certain measurements to be able to go through one transect to be able to identify whether or not the elevations are accurate or not. Woods Hole, just in preparation for the last review, when we had 90 days, was only able to analyze through the towns of Scituate, Marshfield, and Duxbury, 9. Because that's all they were able to do in that period of time. So when we get it in 30 days, they went through, and I think they did 5. I know they did 2 for Scituate, they did 2 in Marshfield, and I think they did 1 in Duxbury, because that's all they were able to do. And the thing that was really kind of disappointing, and I don't want this go off against FEMA right now, because Woods Hole said to us, they said, look, they're going to try to collaborate, they want to work to see if maybe FEMA will work with us going forward. But what was really kind of disingenuous was that the fact that Woods Hole said they were going to work with us. Now, some of you folks might realize that we had appealed the prior maps, and in the process, we had 2 different appeals. The first one was with a group called Ransom, that ended up not taking. The other one was with the Woods Hole Group, and it was through an appeal to what's called the Scientific Review Panel. Long and short of it is, it's basically a process of going through with all the people, the experts, the scientific people who are appointed both from FEMA and the town and so on and so forth. They review your application, the data, the methodology, and they accepted it. They said Woods Hole actually had the right methodology. And at that hearing and during that process, FEMA had indicated that they would work, and this is what I think is very important, work with Woods Hole to make sure it was going to be accurate. And they didn't. And so I think that's why, looking at this from our perspective, once we got the maps, we immediately gave them to Woods Hole, went from there, found out that there were paper. Last time they didn't give us just paper, they gave us the digital and the paper. This time they just dumped them on our front steps, and then we had to go and ask for the digital. We couldn't confirm whether or not they were the actual ones or not. Woods Hole, or not Woods Hole, but FEMA wouldn't do it. So, finally, we, having GIS, okay, they gave us a different type of GIS program that doesn't jive with our program, so we had to go out and buy it. And we did. So it's one of these things where it seemed to me as though that FEMA was trying to ensure that they were going to get these maps passed within the 30 days and trying to prejudice the town's ability to appeal it through its comment letter. But I just want to make sure that people understand that this town hasn't dropped the ball at all. If anything, they've advanced it more so than any surrounding community. And one community in particular was Quincy, who didn't appeal at all, and they're in the aftermath of having to adopt those maps, regardless of what they think it's accurate or inaccurate, and they have to go through a different process called a letter of map revision, which is called a LOMAR, and they don't have a lot of leverage to be able to do that. So we're not in that position. We're still trying to appeal it, and I just think, the editorial was not factual, and it was unfortunate because they were giving the impression that a lot of hard people here in Town Hall didn't do their jobs, and they've been doing it splendidly. So I just wanted to make sure that people understood that going forward.
Any other comments on the meeting?
Very well put.
Just a quick one. So, yeah, so when we went for the original appeal, we had 90 days and the digital. So this time we had 30 days with just the set of maps with no digital. So just so people understand that, we had more time with the original appeal. Obviously, 3 times as much time. So that's it.
So I forgot to mention Bill, who worked really, really hard to get all those maps digitized by Thursday, and, we're very hopeful that we can work together collaboratively now with FEMA on the information that we submitted.
Tony, can I just have one question. Do you have any idea how many residents sent comments because they were going to copy Leslie? Did they? Did she share that with you? I wasn't.
No, and I don't know if she maybe even had to send. We provided the information for people to provide it directly, so we don't have as good a handle on that. But I can follow up with her. I'm sort of letting her rest this week, but I can ask.
Yeah.
I know a couple came to Laura, and she forwarded them to me, and Neil was aware of some. So, but I'll find out. Okay, so moving quickly. In the midst of all that, we had some server problems on Friday, and all the budgets were due to me on Friday. And again, I can't say enough about Bill Sheehan, who continues to work. We had a very rare instance where an outside cable failed into the server, and that's been replaced today. So a number of departments couldn't get their budgets in and did the best they could with their hand scribbles. As you know, because of the tight timeframes under the charter and when our town meeting is, the major budget work and capital has to occur all the way up until before New Year's. So this week, every hour on the hour, 23 department heads are coming in to review their budgets. I spent the weekend doing the numbers and sharing that with them and going over their goals and objectives. So we're halfway, Nancy, 11 out of 22, and that'll continue. And you also, in addition to that, and the FEMA, you have the updated items pending, which I hadn't provided to you for a while, so fortunately I had worked on it early last week, so Lorraine got it. The governor today had a press conference, and I don't know if any of you saw it on the news, releasing a major piece of legislation called municipal modernization. And the basis of this is the result of meetings throughout the state, hearing from local officials about things that create time, are cumbersome, or could be streamlined in state government. And they accept comments, and we sent in comments last Thursday, I think, or Friday.
Yeah, we sent some.
Last was the deadline. We sent in a few of our own, and the governor released that legislation today. It's 120 pages long, but after having gone through it, I just want to share with you briefly some highlights. It has to go through the legislature, obviously, so some of them could be dead on arrival, but the reason that I'm talking about this is because there's 3 or 4 things that I noticed right away that the town is doing already. One is to make it easier to establish an OPEB trust fund and how that's administered. We did that last year. The other is to allow, when there are betterments assessed for sewer or water projects, that money must now be apportioned over the life of the debt. We created a stabilization fund 2 years ago to be able to do that. The other one is to promote more sustainability and energy projects in communities like solar and wind in terms of how long those leases can go. I believe our wind turbine project started 11 years ago. So those are good. Also, more stabilization funds for flexibility to do things with earmarking funds for future projects. And the other thing that was interesting, and as I said, there's lots and lots of things, mostly around assessing in the assessor's office and the treasurer collector, Chapter 44, which is really the Bible of municipal debt and borrowing and finances. But the other one, and I shared this with Lorraine, is really changes the capping on liquor license in communities. So right now, as you know, you're limited to liquor licenses per 1,000 of population. This allows the municipality to develop and file a municipal plan for its projected intent or use of liquor license, and that would take the place if you accept that provision of this proposed statute amendment. You're not tied to these numbers. And what I think is something that should have been done for a long time, if a business closes or the owner decides to go someplace else, that liquor license does not stay with that person for them to sell as an asset. It must be returned physically to the local licensing authority, and the town gets to decide where it next goes. So I'm sure you'll be reading and hearing a lot about it. We'll be weeding through it as well, but as it works its way through the legislature, those are just some of the highlights of what it will do. And you can look at the whole thing if you are interested in stuff like that. It's on the MMA website, so.
Why are you looking at me?
I'm just, it's a lot of legalese, John, but. Okay, so now I want to give you the public facilities update. Two quick things before I want to turn it over to Jesse, who's right there. I think you have in your packet this pre-construction meeting agenda. This is the meeting we had with the contractor for the public safety complex as we're beginning to do that work. We met with the contractor for the first time, and as you see, there's about 30 items on this two-page agenda and my scribbles on them. So he is motivated and ready to start going. And I'd like to share with the board that the groundbreaking will be December 18th at 10 a.m. at the Ellis property to kick off the construction of that
Public safety.
project. Public safety. And I think Michelle's been in touch with you as to who's attending, because we do need a master of ceremonies, similar to what Marty stood in for the library. So December 18th, hope there's no snow. Otherwise, it will be in this tiny little room, and I don't think we want to bring dirt in. And the final thing...
We're hardy, we can stand outside.
Yes. The final thing is, you're going to have the school update later, but there's been some recent developments on the library project. I asked Jesse to come in and update you on the work of all the change orders you provided last month, and also some new developments. So Jesse, why don't you come up and inform the board?
Hi, thanks for seeing me tonight. So I'm here tonight to talk a little bit about what's going on with the project, especially with some of the more recent developments as of the last couple of weeks. And I'm happy to review any of the work that's already been done or the work that you've approved but has not yet happened. But I also sent you guys over, I know it didn't give you a lot of time to look at it, a couple of documents to review about some of the changes that were triggered by the work that has already been done to remove the roof. I know Joe and the architects talked a little bit about how the roof removal could trigger some masonry issues, and it did in fact do that. So the removal of the C and J lines is really what I'm talking about here. So those are really the line of the wall that is along the children's wing, where the, kind of over near where the circulation desk was, and the line of that's out to Branch Street, so that wall that was out to Branch Street. And you can see that there wasn't a lot of that wall left, that C-line. And basically, several things happened. So one is some machinery was just moving around, and actually one of the walls just came down on its own. So it did not get hit. It was just the weight, I believe. And these aren't incredibly strong walls to begin with, as we've noted from the sort of poor construction of the original building, and the brick piers were removed, so you've got these great big gaps already between them. And then they had to remove the steel beam across the top, which has weakened it even further. And it just started to become really complicated to try to shore up these very small pieces of the wall, and it was going to become extremely expensive to do so, and also potentially dangerous to have these very small pieces of wall while, heavy equipment was moving around. This is one of the areas where the excavation is happening. So, to have people working down below was going to be problematic. And then the wall, the J-lawn is really just a 15-foot section of wall that was going to remain. And they were relying heavily on those trusses that were going to remain in place over the southwest wing to shore up that wall, because the precast concrete plank is being removed. The elevator is going to go there. So because of that, they're going to have to take that wall down as well, because the trusses are no longer there to support that. So this is about $65,000 worth of work.
What? 65,000?
To tear them down and rebuild them.
So is that another change order that's coming for us?
That is.
2 in front of us.
I see 24 and 2.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We only, yeah, go ahead, Tony.
So there's 2 change orders, a 24,000 and a 2,000?
Those are just for the demolition, and the rebuilding change orders haven't come out yet. So they moved forward with the demolition change orders so that they could keep the progress going on the project. But, they now have to be, redesigned and rebuilt, and those will be
According to
submitted
the
as change orders.
description, though, it doesn't, it sounds like it's new masonry, and it says following a lump sum changes to replace the existing CMU wall along C and J. I mean, it sounds like it's the contract change for the actual work itself.
On the lump sum change to replace the existing CMU wall along C and, yeah.
Jesse, did you get quote, that's the quote of 65 that the
Yes.
Costanza?
So that's
construction
also
said?
that's for the CMU walls. So I'm sorry, that 25,000 is for the CMU walls to be rebuilt, but there's also some brick pier footings that have to be redone. And that's going to be an additional change order as well. So, but that's all part of that 65,000.
So there's another 40,000 of the brick pier?
So my understanding is this is the CMU walls on the C and J lawn, the brick pier footings, as well as, some of this includes asbestos removal, as far as I understand.
Well, we already did
I already
that.
did that, yeah, so maybe that's a total,
Maybe the other part was already included in the original change order.
what we did last
Where's the guy? What's his
That's
name?
what you're reading my mind.
Where's
How come,
Joe?
Jesse,
Where's
how
Joe?
come you're doing this?
Well-
And all due respect to you, this is not your expertise.
That's
I-
because there was a Public Building Commission scheduled tonight at the same time as the board's meeting, at which the architect would be, and I asked Jesse to come to you to split the difference.
How many times have you asked that board not to meet on Tuesday nights?
They ended up canceling the meeting, but I just asked Jesse to come to the meeting later today.
And I appreciate you coming, I really do. But this, talk about $20,000 to tear down a wall that fell down, is what I heard. And then, there aren't any...
A piece of the wall fell down.
If one of them, you could knock any one of these walls down. There isn't any bond beam here that I can see. There isn't any
Right.
steel
That was-
reinforcing rod coming out.
Removed.
This is stuff they should have known. I said this a month ago when we talked about this. This happens at the library that was built in '74. Imagine what we're going to find at the Gates School that was built 100 years ago. This is nothing. I don't understand it.
Yeah, so I think we need Joe to come here at some point and tell us what's going on. I don't know if this change order includes the previous ones, because we already passed 2 for asbestos. And like Sean said, these walls, we were told last meeting, you could hit them with a feather and they'd fall over.
Right. That's what I was going to add, Tony, is that I thought they kind of already addressed that these walls that were going to be left
Not-
standing,
not-
they were pretty much going to...
Not in the change order, okay? So I authorized the demolition of the walls last week, because it would have held up the construction for $2,700. I just want to share with you the email that I got for Joe Sullivan on December 1st. I'm looking for verbal approval to remove some concrete block wall that is in very bad shape. When we presented in front of the selectmen, we discussed the demo removal of the trusses and girders that had structurally failed. During the meeting, we discussed that there would likely be some concrete block that would need to be removed and rebuilt to support the new steel columns and beams. I need to remove some of the wall, which is a cost of $2,700, and need to get this approved right away so we can move forward. And then they could have the demo contractor remove the wall, which had the asbestos mastic on it, and dispose of it. It's also the disposal cost. So you don't have the whole change order here. You have the demo, which is the $25,500, and then the $24,400 here is the masonry for the mastic and stuff like that.
So the demolition is $2,500.
25, yeah.
Right, that's
And
the
then-
second page that you have, Tony.
Then the
So what do we get to
rebuilding of the
60?
walls. Yeah, where's the 65?
How do we get to 60, 65?
So there's one that you aren't seeing, it's the change order number 18, which I actually didn't include because the figure was wrong on that, and I didn't want to, it was much lower than it's actually going to be because it was quoted for 5 brick piers, and there are 13 brick piers that have to be repaired. So I didn't include that change order because the figure was wrong.
So you're really not being asked to approve anything tonight? Jesse's informationally telling you that, so if at your next meeting, you're going to get the all-in? I can approve these change orders for the demolition, which has already taken place. And then at your next meeting on December 21st, we can have all the folks here to answer your specific questions before you vote anything.
So what level of change order can you do, up to 50,000? So I just hope we don't see a bunch of 20s and 30s coming through where we don't have to look at them.
Yeah, and if it's within the board's cycle, then it will certainly come before you because you need to be informed. But there are things that are happening in the field that they need an immediate verbal approval for, or we pay the penalty for construction delay of $3,000 a day.
Tricia, I have to tell you, I mean, I guess I'm getting really nervous. This is all happening on the demos phase of it, and we have the, what's it called, the residual component that ultimately, they banked high, 600,000, wasn't it?
800.
800,000.
or something.
So with the idea that, you know, they're going to have these unforeseen issues when they're first demoing it, I'm like, it seems like we're having a lot, why not just raise the whole thing? I'm like, I
Well,
feel like what
there's
we're doing
nothing
is
left
tear this
now.
down, and then, oh, this got to go, now it's
Close
going to
the
cost us
foundation
more.
good? Yeah,
I think we
that's
need to have a
next
real conversation, like, what's left?
Foundation.
Well, you can see nothing.
That's what
Right.
I know.
There's essentially nothing left.
Waste.
And we've been talking about this, is the town's really not building 2 new buildings and a reno. We're building 3 new buildings right now.
So the architects did point out that, and as well as Joe, that there are several $1 million of value in the existing foundations and what is left of the building. I understand that it's very discouraging. We're discouraged too. But at the same time, we're turning a corner with the project. We're entering into the excavation of the foundations. All of the geotechnical reports have come back with good reports, and the foundations are going to be poured at the end of the week or at the beginning of next week. So they are starting to go out and up on the project.
And I just want to reiterate what Sean said. We're not taking this out on you.
I
Obviously, you have no control over it, but when Joe comes before us and tells us that we think we're at a point and that the change orders are going to cover things, and then the next week we get more, it's frustrating from our point of view. I mean, it seems like all that money that we're going to save from the bid coming in lower is being spent in change orders, conveniently.
I will say that the architects and the OPM are fighting really hard to get us all of the credits that we need for the work that is not being done to shore up the building, and, you know, some various other things that they're not having to do because of the roof being removed. So, you know, they are fighting really hard to keep the construction company on track and to not trigger any other change orders based on these changes.
So
Any other?
we'll do this at your next meeting, but we just found this out today, so that's why I had Jesse come in.
Okay, so the only ones that are approved are these two, the 2,500 and the 22,000?
The work was authorized, so now this is just the paperwork on it, yes.
So as far as the credits go, I mean, I think we're at a point now where if you've been by there, there's not much left to look at. We should be able to get from them what the credits are going to be.
Well, certainly it's all building now, not,
That's what I'm saying, but we have credits on things that they obviously don't have to do now. I mean, I think we're at the point where they should be able to come through with those, so we have a
we
better
have
idea
those
what
on
we're
the
looking
20th?
at.
They're working to negotiate those right now.
So I think what Marty's saying, Jess, is to the extent we can have those at the December 21st meeting, that'd be very important.
Yeah. There's a bit, I mean, it's a fair amount of money, I think.
thanks, Jess.
Okay.
One other thing, can you, and I don't know if you can or you can you talk to the construction people there? They're still parking vehicles on Branch Street early in the morning, idling their vehicles, and it's waking up the whole neighborhood. And I know you spoke to them before.
Yeah, I was assured that was supposed to be taken care of. I'll
No.
check on it again tomorrow for sure.
Trish, before we move over on do you have anything else in your
No,
report?
I'm good.
So just two really quick questions. The land swap off of 3A, is that pending or is that done?
We thought it was done, and then the Secretary of the Executive Office of Environmental Resources had some concerns. She wanted a land appraisal done. So Jim Toomey and I and Representative Cantwell's office have been working with the Senate Council all week for an amendment to include that. Obviously, that had to be approved by me on your behalf, Adam Brodsky, the attorney for Livingstone, and amenable, obviously, to make sure Representative Canwell and Senator Headland understood what we were doing. All that was taken care of about, what time, 3 o'clock today, Lorraine? Yes, so as far as we know, the amendment's in, and the Senate should be taking it up pretty soon, before the legislature ends the end of this month, so. Good question, because we were working on that today.
And lastly, I just see the wind turbine. I know I don't remember when we talked about this, about a month ago, I just want to make sure we keep that in the forefront so that when spring comes around, we've got a plan in place to try.
We have lots of information to report on that. Jennifer Keith and Al Bangert have been doing a lot of work on it, so after we sort of get through this hurdle right now, that is definitely our plan.
Okay. That's all I have. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a public hearing discussion vote for a wine malt liquor license application for the Sand Hills General Store. How are you?
So before we start, I just want to mention to the board that we did put out in public that there would be a wine malt license available, and we only received one applicant for that license, who is here this evening.
Okay,
Just so you know that there's no other applicants advertising the paper.
great. And is this a time thing or no? Okay,
We already passed it, you're good.
great. How are you?
Good, and you?
Good. Just your name and address real quick.
Yeah, I'm Dan McAdam, owner of the Sand Hills General Store down on 160 Turner Road. I live at 157 Turner Road, and we're here tonight in regards to the annual beer and wine license. We're working right now on a seasonal, as you know, and we're looking to expand on that into an annual license that should be coming available to the town.
Great. And as just a quick background, I don't know when it was, but about a year ago, you came before us, you got the seasonal license.
Yep, we
got
came
that
in,
extended to be a few more months.
Correct.
And then you came before us a month ago and put a petition in to get the full liquor license.
Correct.
Which we assigned to North Scituate Wine Store. And now you're before us because she had a wine and beer license, which she turned back because she got the full license. And now you're here before us to try and attain that license.
that's correct.
Great. Any questions from the board?
Nope, I think Mr. McAdams has been before us quite a few times, so.
Great. Well, you've been before us. We've had no complaints whatsoever. two of the selectmen live in the area and speak very highly of the operations. You've done a lot of stuff for the town, and there's been no incident at all with any kids drinking or anything down there. You've got the latest technology and license recognition, and I did have one question. Are you building off the back of the building?
No.
That area there, that storage area?
That's just a storage area. We just renovated the whole building, so you might have seen construction going on, but we redid over the whole outside of the building, so. But no, there's no adding, nothing.
That's awesome.
Great. Motion?
Motion to approve a license to expose, keep, for sale, and to sell wine malt beverages to Sand Hills General Store at 160 Turner Road within an area of 3,944 square feet and with an additional 180 square feet of storage contingent upon Stillwater Wine and Gourmet returning their wine and malt license to the town of Scituate.
Second?
Second by Marty. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I do.
Yes.
I've never heard a motion read like that.
That's what I was wondering, that's why I looked at.
Contingent on someone else turning it in. I know it maybe never happened, but
I looked at
what
It
if,
hasn't happened before.
I've never heard that. What if there's a problem, now, so the and I'm all for it, that's great,
Right.
But if North Situate legally has 2 licenses, they probably cannot hold 2 licenses.
They cannot, and we based their approval on them turning in their wine and malt liquor license to the town of Scituate.
So they haven't done that
Has that
yet?
happened?
It's going to lapse December 31st, so
Yes. The thing is, we've submitted everything, all the paperwork to the ABCC after your last meeting with the abutter notification, and the ABCC has 2 to 6 weeks to process that license change, upgrade from wine and malt to full liquor. So in the meantime, since Mr. McAdams' license is going to expire, we wanted to progress with his, but once the wine and malt is turned back to us, then we can give it to Mr. McAdams.
When does your seasonal one expire?
January 15th.
Okay.
and
You have a little
Stillwater's is December 31st, and she's not coming in for the renewal, so we're trying to bridge the gap.
Okay. You'll be fine either way then, really?
But you're
Hopefully,
right, Sean, this is the first time that I found,
yeah,
and I looked
just-
back through all the records, it's happened.
Nope, that's
But we
great.
need the license back to be able to give it to them, so we had to put...
So we'll get it back by the 31st regardless.
Either way. Yeah, it's
So-
probably not happened like this before, as far as somebody getting a different type of a license.
It's because you never did seasonal licenses
Correct,
before,
right.
so he's in double jeopardy
another
because
thing.
of that.
Okay, so we get a motion. Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? It is unanimous, 5-0.
Thank you.
Good luck,
Appreciate
Dan.
it.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Sam.
Moving right along to a discussion vote to bid the award to the middle school project. Shane Nolan, OPM Daedalus, John McCarthy, Superintendent of Schools. John Walter as well.
Good evening. We're here tonight to bring some good news to you and hopefully get your permission to approve this contract with Agostini Bacon Construction Company and award this contract to them and start this project rolling. So last night we had a meeting of the school building committee and the school committee. It was a joint meeting in which we reviewed all the bids. We looked at this particular company, and unanimously, we approved a recommendation to bring this company before you tonight. So I am going to turn it over to Shane. Shane's going to take you through sort of the bids, what they mean, and what happens next.
So, yeah, I believe you have the bid results in front of you there. We opened the bids publicly on Thursday, December 3rd. We pre-approved 4 contractors to submit bids. All 4 contractors submitted. As John said, Bacon Agostini were the low bidder. Also received bids from Fontaine Brothers, CTA Construction, and Brake Builders. We had a base bid from Bacon Agostini of $51.3 million. We also had 8 alternates, which we included in there. Alternates are included so that if we get favorable bids, we can add these into the project for either better products, better quality than that. So including all 8 alternates, the bids were $52.59 million. That's below our construction budget of 61.9 million, which was part of that project funding agreement with the MSBA. So we can afford to take all 8 of those ad alternates. As part of our review, as I said, all 4 contractors were pre-qualified. We went through the process of pre-qualifying, reviewing them, getting references before we let them bid, and then once we got the bids, we went to the offices of DCAM to review their file with DCAM. So we reviewed both Bacon and Agostini's file. They're actually a joint venture. Both files, we found that they had a rating of 93 out of 100 on all the projects they've been evaluated. I think Agostini were evaluated on 7 projects. Agostini had been evaluated on 5 projects. 80 is a passing score, goes up to 100, so very good scores. Looked at all the comments from previous projects they had done, and in most categories they got a very good or excellent rating, so we didn't find anything on their file. We also looked at their project limits. So every contractor that works in the state has a single project limit, which is the limit up to each project they can work on. But the bid is below that, and then they have what's called an aggregate project limit, which is the total of all the projects they're working on. They can't exceed that. So we looked at both Bacon and Agostini, and they're both under those. They also, as a joint venture, they're required to apply to the state for to get permission to enter into a project. As a joint venture, they got that. They submitted the paperwork for that, so that was all in their bids and bona fide. So based on that, we recommend that you guys approve the contract, including all 8 alternates, in the amount of $5,596,800.
So,
52 million.
have you ever worked with them before?
Yes. In fact, together with Shane and Daedalus, we did the Rockland High School project, which was a new middle school attached to the existing high school, which was fully renovated in that case. Previous to that, we did a new middle school in Webster with them, and we did a very difficult renovation addition project for King Philip Middle School with them. So all very good projects.
Great. Yeah.
This is the first time they've joined?
No, Bacon and Agostini are actually pretty much the same company. George Agostini started them, I think, about 40 years ago. So George is the president of Bacon and the CEO of Agostini Construction, and his son Stephen is the president of Agostini and the COO of Bacon Construction. So they're essentially the same company, the same address, same staff. So we've worked with them as a joint venture before. We're working with them up in Peabody, in the middle school up there, which is I think it's about a $70 million job as a joint venture. So they've worked on a number of projects as a joint venture.
So just another quick thing. So it looks like we had about $62 million set aside for this. It came in at 52.5 about, so we're about $9.5 million under budget, which is phenomenal. Phenomenal. Able to add in all the alternatives. And I was wondering, not to go over all 8 of them, but there's 2 or 3 that are bigger. Were they things that were just pulled out because you didn't know where the bids were going to be coming in?
Correct. We had to get a sizable amount of money, so just in case we went over. And so some of the big ones are such things as using VCT flooring instead of linoleum. We prefer linoleum; it's a much better product, but we had VCT in there in the event that we couldn't afford it. So you can that list of alternates, that's in the order that we rank them. In other words, we would take number 8 first, number 7 second, number 6 third.
The other way around.
The other way around, sorry. Number 1
1,
first,
2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3, because the big numbers are at the top, and that's where you get the most bang for the, if we had to.
Right. But there were it's just the project was presented, and there's just cost-cutting measures if we had to.
In the event.
Correct. We use that as bid protection. So in the the budget with MSBA and that project funding limit, all those, better products were included in that, but we kind of backed them out and put something else in just as bid protection.
That's great. Any comments from the board?
Just with the exception of the alternative number 7, they underbid everybody in every category on it. They really wanted this job.
Yes.
It was amazing.
Pretty aggressive. I mean, all 4 came in under.
Correct.
Yeah.
So very aggressive.
Because of the size of the project, unlike a public safety building.
That's what Dawn was saying.
estimators.
Same estimator?
Same estimate?
Yeah, so that just goes to
Go
show.
figure.
We heard it.
Completely different projects when you think about the scale.
Maybe we take a couple million from this one and,
Yeah, I mean, the
actually, it all
town,
washes out in the...
well, you're right. I mean, there's going to be, certainly money coming back here at the end of this project. There's plenty of, right here. We probably won't have to borrow as much as we anticipated having to borrow.
Right.
I mean, one of the things that will happen now is MSBA requires us to redo the project funding agreement. That will be done sometime in February, I believe, is it?
Right, yeah.
Approximately. With
So
that-
their participation will be
Their
less.
participation will change, but the good news on this one is that because we are already over their 287 per square foot, most of the money's coming back to the town here.
Oh, good point.
What about contingency? What's that at?
Since
Since we're sitting here going through change orders tonight.
I think we were at 2.6 million.
Yeah.
So, what we would suggest is rolling some of those savings down into contingency again. Yeah, we have to go through a whole exercise with MSBA now. We'll sit down with the contractor, we have to get a schedule of values. As you know, some of the project was not reimbursable, the auditorium, the high school work, and there were certain caps on the building costs and the site work costs. So once we flush all that out with MSBA, we'll know better what the remaining funds is, and we can allocate some of that to contingency.
And is it true that they did Whitman-Hanson?
They did Hanson, yeah.
I mean, that's a great school that a lot of, yeah.
Actually, the Rockland one is really nice, too.
To give folks an idea,
Yeah.
when they're out there.
They built
Competing.
They recently finished
Norwood
Franklin High
and
School with
Franklin.
us. Yeah.
So this schedule will work well to start?
They do. We've talked to them. They have a crew coming off a project in Rhode Island. So the project is scheduled to finish this month. So they're ready to hit the ground running with a team.
That's good.
John, I know I've asked you this 10 times, but can you just go through the timeline real quick in terms of when construction starts, or?
Yep, so basically what will happen is, once this contract is executed and we provide a notice to proceed, we'll have a meeting with the contractor, we'll establish the schedule. Our hope is that we will start putting up fences during the vacation break here that's coming up in the next couple of weeks, so that when students and staff and parents return, there'll be a new traffic pattern established, new parking established, and we'll communicate all that by a project advisory that'll come out probably in the next week or two. Then construction should begin anytime thereafter. Again, this project has a very tight window of approximately 600 days or so.
Yep. So, yeah, there's some phasing involved. So we have to renovate a portion of the high school to move high school art into that. Once we get that, we can give them another portion, that high school wing and the superintendent's offices, to demolish that and start kind of, building the guts of the new school. So it's phased. There's 580 days total, but within that 580 days, there's certain phases, and we should wrap up.
So what's going to happen while the kids are still in school this year?
Yep, so you'll start seeing construction right out here behind you. So there will be a school building there, as well as behind where the new auditorium is going, between the cafeteria and the gymnasium. There'll be construction there. So there'll be fencing in the back, some fencing, most of the parking is still available, and there'll be, obviously, this whole area around the vernal pool will be fenced, and construction will be taking place there. Interior-wise, there'll be construction in the high school in the art wing at first. Okay, so that'll happen almost immediately in January. That work will happen off hours, so it will not disrupt school. Obviously, that first floor, the old ECC wing, will be blocked off, but the work will take place in the off hours so that it's not disrupting school at all.
So, and there's just other space that you're going to send those art kids?
Whose role is it to manage the traffic flow of construction trucks coming in, and, that'll be a big change?
I think it'll be a collaborative thing. We'll have a full-time representative on site, so he'll work closely with the contractors. The way we've laid it out with the logistics plan is all construction traffic will come off First Parish and go to a staging area over here. All school traffic will come off of 3A, so they should never mix. This cut through at the back here will be open, so maybe they might there, but there'll be no access beyond the junction.
And our police department's advised of all that? Okay.
We've been meeting with them regularly.
We've worked with them, and we've been in contact with Mark Thompson, who wants to sit down immediately with them to go over his concerns, so.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So there's a lot of buzz in the high school senior community about parking and where their spots are going, so I'm sure you...
Yeah, some of the students have to move around a little bit, and, we're moving staff, we're moving students, students wondering why they have to walk a little further than the staff. That's normal.
Age. Tell your son he's going to take the bus.
Yeah. Tell him to get some hiking boots.
Any other questions? Motion?
Move the Board of Selectmen award the contract to provide construction services associated with the Scituate Middle School to Agostini-Bacon for the base bid and alternates of 1 through 8, total sum not to exceed $52,596,800.
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Further discussion? Any discussion from out in the audience? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you guys.
Congratulations.
Just for one quick, not you guys, but while the school committee's here, I just wanted to make a quick announcement. Last night, the school committee voted on an initiative that's really coinciding with our FACS program, where they are allowing a trial period of the winter sports for kids, high school kids and younger, to get into these events for free. So I think that's a great, trial and pilot to do, to get more kids in and get them off the street and get them participating in school spirit stuff. So while you guys are here, I wanted to thank you for doing that, and just let the 10 people that are watching this know about that. And that starts right away, right?
For the first
this
game.
weekend, so good. Thank you very much for doing that.
If I could, so we'll issue a notice to award to the contractor tomorrow, and within 5 days, then he has to send back a signed contract, his bonds and his insurances, and at that time, we'll need you guys to sign a contract, which will allow us then to actually give him the notice to proceed. So I would hope we can do that without coming back, because of the tight schedule. We want to get him going. So if that's okay, I can drop that.
Stop.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Great, thank you. Thank you.
So if this comes up, they expect it to waive the building permit fee for them, so Shane should know that.
The next item is an update from GATRA on the on the sloop.
Yeah, they did.
Colin, can you close that? Thank you.
I tried to give you just a little update of, where we were at the end of fiscal 2015, both on the demand response service. We have a contract between the authority and the town. The Council on Aging actually runs the day-to-day service for seniors and people with disabilities in the town. And fiscal 15, ridership was just under 7,000 for that service. Showed a significant increase over the prior year. We also, as part of our contract with the town, pay and reimburse the town for long-distance service that the Council on Aging provides, but it's provided through South Shore Community Action Council, so, they do the long-distance contracting and provide that service for Council on Aging seniors and people with disabilities in the town. We also are working with Linda Hayes right now to come up and look at a brand-new vehicle. We've got a couple of new vehicles in. We're probably going to give the town a new 14-passenger. She wants to get a little bigger vehicle for a little more capacity. So she'll be coming up to our garage in Taunton hopefully next week or the end of this week, and hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll be getting that vehicle back to the town to start operations for the
When you say
Council on
give,
Aging.
what's give mean? Like,
Well, we end up, we get federal and state funding, to purchase the vehicle, so that the vehicle will be leased as part of our contract with the town for $1 to the town. So it's, it's we own the
your
vehicle.
asset that we're...
Yeah, that
You'll
you
still own.
operate. Yeah.
Right.
On the sloop service, which started early July, it's still operating on a 7 days a week, a more limited schedule on Saturday and Sunday, and, pretty much full service throughout the week. For the past 5 months, just about 2,600 riders have been using that service. There are some changes that, we wanted to propose to make, and, I just highlighted some of those here for you, what I thought, instead of taking up the board's time, that Patricia and I would still try to work on, try to finalizing some of these changes and then put a new schedule into effect probably in early January. It's something we wanted to do a couple of months ago, but I've been out on a medical issue, so I haven't been able to really get down to talk to Patricia and make some of the changes to the service. The good thing is that, even in October, November, the ridership has actually gone up, and what we were anticipating, over after the summer, that service would drop off. I think we're starting to get, now that it's available and it's been out there now for almost 5 months, people are starting to become more familiar with it and starting to use it. We're not getting yet that ridership to Greenbush that we had, at least thought might be there. Some of that, I think, takes time. Commuters are real creatures of habit. It's a hard, especially since there's so much parking still available at Greenbush, it's hard for people to say, I'm going to get on a bus that hopefully will get me to the train station on time, that they can get on the train. So it's a harder service to break people's habits of getting out of their automobile and driving to the train station every day. But there are a couple that are using it, but, it really isn't worth the early hours that we're starting that service, I think, to continue. So that's a discussion that, I can have with either you or with Patricia about whether we want to continue that going forward. And then the other thing we want to try to do, when we started the service, we started it as kind of like a loop around the town. People have been complaining that, if they really go on a short distance, they don't want to have to ride all the way around again. So what we want to try to do is, try to break that loop system and make it really two distinct routes, one going out to the Driftway from downtown, coming back into town, and then going out to Town Hall. And there's been a lot of discussion about trying to get some service up to North Scituate, which I think we could do, during 2 or 3 runs during the middle part of the day. So that's another discussion that, we can have and make those changes to the schedule.
Would that all be covered by one sloop, just the one vehicle?
We could probably still do it, at least for the winter months, for in the one vehicle. I mean, we'll have to look as, again, next summer, how traffic, will impact the schedule, but, and then the only other part that we, want to do is get service extended over to the library, where the library is now at the community building. And then just quickly on the funding, the fiscal 15 cherry sheet estimate, the final cost for GATRA for service to the town would be about $80,700. There's still a balance of money that the town's paying to the MBTA as part of the cherry sheet of about $37,000. That money we anticipate using over this fiscal year to pay for the cost of, a portion of the cost of running the sloop service. So that by the end of fiscal 16, there probably won't be any local assessment that you'll be paying to it. It's here to all be for local service, both council on aging or fixed route service. And then the last thing is, we spent a lot of time, it was an initiative that the legislature made all the RTAs undertake as part of transportation finance. We had to put together a forward-looking transit plan for our services, which has now been done, and it's been submitted to the legislature. It's on our website. It did identify the sloop and some additions to the sloop. It also talks about service from Marshfield up to the Greenbush, and try to service some other areas of Scituate as well. So, I mean, it is a plan. It is subject to the legislature giving additional funding, and in light of what's been going on with the T, we don't know where we'll stand in the mix of that, but it's there, and I think the legislature, at least took the initiative statewide to have all the RTAs look at it, put together a plan, and get something before the legislatures to understand what the needs of transit is outside of the Boston urbanized area. So that's pretty much where we are.
Thank you for the update. I will tell you, I'm surprised that the numbers are actually as high as they are for 515 people using it a month. I know initially there were people using it, and I haven't seen anybody on it. I see you driving along. I'm sure you guys do too. You're in town more than me. So I don't know what we can do to increase the ridership, but I think we need to do something different. Yeah. Like making runs to North Scituate, getting over to the library. I think those are things that we just have to initiate to see if we can get more people. I'd be interested to know if there are more seniors using it than kids, or, what's the...
I could get you some, I don't know, I could send something to the board about who's riding it now. I think... the problem with the loop services is that, people want to get from point A to point B. They don't want to ride all the way around. So, the people that have that convenience, then they'll do it. But I think when we break the service and make it more straight in and out of town, I think that would make a big difference as well.
The only thing that happens, obviously, is you miss spots,
Yeah.
So a straight line is going to hit 2 spots where our loop is hitting 10. So...
well, the only part we're going to eliminate right now that we're not really getting any riders is the part of Countryway. From First Paris down to basically almost down to Greenbush. But it's a lot of single residents, but we haven't really been getting anybody riding in that piece of the corridor. So
is there any... 2 other quick comments, and I know you guys probably have some. One, I don't think people know where the thing stops. In fact, I know they don't. I know people have been passed as they're standing there waiting for it, and I know other people can get in there and he'll drive you to your house if he wants to, because it's that slow. So I don't know if we can designate some sort of signage or something that says here are places that he's definitely going to stop every time around.
Yeah. It is something that Patricia and I actually talked about probably late last summer, and we were going to do it, and we'll get to doing it. We have some wraparound signs that we can put up that would, give a higher presence as to where people could stand along the route to use the service.
That would be really helpful.
And then, if there could be some coordination with the train schedule, so that the sloop is actually getting to the train station as trains leave and as trains come in, I think that may be helpful also. And then you mentioned getting North Scituate, at least up to, the senior housing.
Yeah.
People that have cars aren't using this. It's kids and seniors that are using it, so we've got to get to those spots.
Yeah.
Anyone?
Yeah, no, I think Tony hit the nail on the head. I think, it's great the first 5 months to analyze it and determine what's been working, what's kind of failing. I think certainly with the seniors going to North Scituate, I think all the board would agree would be huge, even if you could loop it, during the midday. That would be a great amenity for that section of the town. Well, the other thing I was curious is whether or not you can maybe study to some degree with the school department when they're letting out the high school or middle school, and whether or not, well, not so much the middle school, but the high school of not just school itself, but maybe towards the latter part, 4 or 5 in the evening, certainly during when it gets better
After-school
weather, after
activities.
school, after-school activities, and, working a loop that goes around towards the downtown and then back up certain areas like Hatherley and then back over towards Tilden, and then just different ways that maybe you might find it more successful, kids to say, you know what, I'm not taking the school bus, I can go downtown, and then maybe hop off or, get a ride closer to my neighborhood. I don't know. And then the other was trying to work something out maybe towards the summer, towards the beaches, Peggotty Beach, being able to, if there was an ability to say, okay, I'm not sure whether that's going to be successful or not, but if you could go across Edward Foster, drop off there's that little turnaround. You don't have to go directly to the beach, but people could maybe walk about another 300-400 yards. It's a thought.
All right.
Any other?
No, those are all good suggestions. I'm just curious on your timeline, all these changes that you're suggesting, what the date of effectiveness is for those.
We were thinking right after the new year, actually, so early January. I mean, there's not that many that we can't put the new schedule together to do, so I was going to work on the details with Patricia, but, yeah, we were anticipating trying to get it going in early January.
That'd be great.
So,
I think the signs are key. If we can get those up, that's...
No, I know, and
I don't know if they can survive the
agree.
winter, but I don't know what
No, it would
material
make
they're
it
made
makes a
of,
difference.
but,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
Frank.
for all your work.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Coming.
Happy holidays.
You too.
The next item for discussion is the economic, what's that? Economic Development Committee?
It was a good segue, by the way.
What's that?
It was a good segue about the sign.
Yeah, I thought you were actually with him.
Signs are key.
Colin and Laura?
Those are nice looking. Oh, how good are we seeing this looking?
So I have to know before I do my budget.
It's nice. Looks good.
While that warms up, I can give you a little bit of a...
Ruth, can you hit that light behind you?
Good.
Can everyone see enough?
You okay, Rick? All right. Well, thank you for having us. We wanted to give you an update on our wayfinding and branding effort that's been underway for, well, I guess this year, and show you where we're at. We'd started this effort out of the MAPC study that we concluded last year that had recommended pursuing some wayfinding strategies, branding Scituate as a marketing effort to kind of leverage what we have. I think a lot of people come here and they realize, I never knew. There's a story to tell. We'd like to show people that there's a reason to come visit, capture some of those dollars and that revenue. So we engaged Mark Favorman Design, to help us do that. We went through a design effort over the last several months that Mark will describe, with the intent of developing that design, that motif that would work in a lot of different settings, that was simple, concise, versatile, and we'll talk a little bit later about next steps and where we hope to go with that, but we wanted to show you where we are now and a little bit about how we got there. So, Mark, I'll leave it to you. Mark has done this with a number of other towns, Ipswich, Amesbury, I think Brooklyn most recently, has also designed logos and branding for the 96 Olympics and a number of other events.
Right.
Good evening, everyone. I get to show pictures. I'm part of the entertainment, I guess.
That's what branding's about.
And the idea of community branding is something that's come about in the last couple of decades. It's something that happened to major cities like Paris and New York and even Boston to an extent. But for smaller towns and cities to do it is a very sophisticated move. And the Economic Development Commission is a sophisticated committee here that is thinking about things in very interesting ways, in a visionary way. I live in Boston, so getting here is not easy. So even finding it once you get here is not terrific. But so we went through talking about what these things are about that we're working on. What is branding? Branding is identity or visual appearance, but it also is an intangible asset that adds value to the community or the object or the product. And it also is the image that is reinforced to visitors as well as residents. And what does branding reinforce? It's a sense of arrival, a sense of place, and a sense of shared experience, both visually and spiritually at certain times, or historically. So the question I ask of every town or community is, what is the essence of the place? So we went through a series of exercises, and the first question is, what is Scituate? So these are some of the answers from the committee. They literally spent hours going over this. It's probably more frustrating for them than for me. But as you can see, there are a lot of things that they said. And then we asked, what color or colors do you associate with Scituate? And so the first few colors were blue, green, and white, and we began to refine that a little bit. And then we said, how would you describe Scituate with one word? So these are adjectives, basically. So some of them didn't seem to work, so we crossed through them, and we looked at them and scrutinized them. And how would you describe Scituate with two words? And we looked at that. And as we were scrutinizing it, we were saying, what is unique about Scituate that, say, you couldn't say about Ipswich, or you couldn't say about Marshfield or Cohasset? And then three words or a phrase, and these often have a tagline that comes about. For Sturbridge, we have the tagline, New England's Crossroads. For Amherst, it was a learning landscape. For Ipswich, it was bridging history. So a lot of communities have had this. Some other communities don't want it at all, and we use it in different ways. So here were some of the ideas that were discussed. And we kept going back to the fact that people don't know about Scituate, and they come here, and it was said, somebody said in the group, well, we want to see Scituate. And then I said, well, maybe we should spell it differently. And that's what we came up with as a tagline. And it's very unique. It's layered. It's connected to history. It's connected to the future. And it can be used judiciously. It doesn't have to be used all the time on sign or social media. And it's clear but complex. It's simple and succinct, descriptive and unique, requires a double take, it has personality, and is memorable. And that's what you want as a branding tagline or logo. Then we started thinking about how graphically we could make this happen. So we went through a number of different options, and we now narrowed it down to blue and white. It seemed to work very well. And we found a font that seemed to express itself very well, Fell, and we had some arrows. And this is what we started to come up with and develop in different, there's a line across the top of those, and I don't think it's being projected well. Yeah, there's the line. And then we saw it as not only general welcoming signs and signs to basically define the edges of the town, but also we could have signs as site signs, at major places that would be consistent. Also, directional signs could be done in different ways. Parking, off-street parking, could also be reinforced. We don't want to be too prohibitive all the time, but that's a pretty elegant prohibition type of sign. And no overnight parking. And then the next phase would be to do kiosks and to work in various commercial areas that would have informational things. There might even be a kiosk out front of the town hall for information as well. In certain communities, they want these to be static, and other ones, they want them to be dynamic. So thinking in the future, these could be digital, and they could be basically exterior television sets that you could program from inside the town hall or the library or some other place. So this is what we're up against. We're not sure that the DOT has the best, it has the best feelings for how Scituate should be sort of organized through wayfinding. We think we can make it a little bit better and maybe underscore the distances that people could travel. This could be done with bike trails as well and parks. Here's a sign, this is existing. And so there are two versions of this, a reverse one and a blue and white. So this could look like that, a smaller sign. And the senior center could also be identified. Here's the models, the picture of these that we have on the table here. And then we looked at media to begin with social aspects. And here's the existing website, and maybe we add, this is the header. And then as a Facebook page, it could be very specific too. And this is the beginning, the social media aspects of it as well. So we're looking at this as a way in which to make things consistent, to give a true brand to the community, and to reinforce the quality of life that exists here, and that people understand that it's a very special place that's connected to the sea. Anyway, thank you.
Ruth, can you hit the light again? Thank you. Speaking for myself, I love it. I think it's great. I was impressed. I love the logo. I was trying to figure out who came up with these sayings, and I think it's catchy, and like all your adjectives to describe it, I thought it was great.
It was a collective effort by the commission. It was, and everybody should take credit for all of it, all the good that.
Great. What do you, anyone?
It's very clever, I have to say. Give you kudos to the committee, and obviously Mr. Faverman, is it, or Faverman? I think coming up with the Scituate is really clever, you know, and it's very unique, and you know, this is something that the town has had need of for a long time with the signs, to be able to identify certain things, and your branding is just a great idea at this point, especially with the cultural arts district and what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. The cultural district designation for this community. You just mentioned the importance of gotcha signage and where we could put that in place. Yeah, this was a fun process, and working with Mark to put this together. I mean, I think we've got a great commission right now with a lot of creativity. And, you know, we argued a bit about, you know, what's that slavery, but it got us to these points, and we had a lot of variations of what the imagery was at one point in time, but this was, you know, a unanimous decision of the committee that this is what worked. We think it's effective. It's intended to be simple and cost-effective to fabricate, you know, and, you know, we just wanted to give you an update on where we were with that, and, you know, there's really no particular ask on our part tonight. We just look forward to the continued support as we move forward into the next budget, because we'd hope to be able to actually see these on the street.
Which, next summer? That was my question, timeframe, or would you start in the
It would be,
business district?
well, we have a Phase 2 that puts together it's still locating the siting part of this component. Where should we put these things, and which particular signage should go where? We thought this worked well because it works in a lot of different dimensions. Parking, for instance, directional. The harbor sign, like somewhere near the Rotary, 2 miles. It's simple, but you can also use it for that prohibitive signing, where, otherwise it becomes clutter, but you need to have something that says, maybe this isn't the best place to skateboard, but it still looks good. That siting analysis needs to be done, and then I think it's the fabrication specs. And we intend to complete that this fiscal year, and then with the hope that we might be able to start fabricating and installing, if the funds are available in the next fiscal year.
I have a couple of things. It looks great. I love it. One, has the Historical Society or Commission come in? Because that's a very different look that's around town, and how do we incorporate that? Because I love this as well. And I don't know if you've had them come in and kind of see this idea at all?
We have had, we're structured as a commission with several members.
Thinking about consistency.
Which includes members from the Chamber and the Harbor Merchants. We had several meetings where we invited those bodies. Historic, I don't recall specifically whether we had engaged them directly. Design Review had looked at some of these designs at one point in time.
And the only reason why I bring it up is because they have very unique signs around town, so if our goal is to be consistent,
Yes.
it may make sense to incorporate what they're trying to achieve and what you're trying to achieve as well.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page, certainly on that. And they actually just put in 4 or 5 new signs around town that are, they have the same color scheme.
Yes.
But their font and everything else is different.
Right, yeah.
Part of what Mark is doing, and part of the package that we'll receive out of this, is what he refers to as a kit of parts. You saw some pieces of that on the screen. It's the color schemes, it's the fonts, it's some of these images. They can be moved, intertwined, used in different ways.
I like to compare it to the old Chinese restaurant menu, where 1 from column A and 2 from column B make a meal. And in this case, the meal can be made from this kit of parts, so the colors are all consistent, the sizes and the shapes are all consistent, but maybe some other ingredients could be put into them, such as the bus system might be
another piece of it.
Included or integrated at some time. I'd also like to thank Laura for all her help with this. She's been really good in fostering this, and
I think that goes even for the Economic Development Commission overall, for everything we do. It's not just this effort, because we're a volunteer commission. You were great enough, and the town supported our funding at the last town meeting, so we can engage people like Mark, but we have day-to-day operations that Laura has basically been, the legs on the ground making a lot of this happen.
That's great. My other question is, for some of those signs that are along 3A or along the state highways, what type of obstacles, have you seen in your experience when towns want to incorporate a town signing initiative up against the state highway regs and whatnot?
You want to
Well, I was just going to say, I think we've talked about that a little bit, and what Mark and the commission wanted to do was to get your buy-in to this whole idea first before, working with Tricia to try to contact DOT and see, what are the best avenues to go about changing some of those signs on 3A. 3A is such a major corridor in Scituate. There's so many signs on it that it'll involve, quite a few sign changes, but they'd be really worthwhile if we can get them.
And to that point also, we've been discussing with the Chamber also the large sign on 3A, which they own. And there is flexibility there that is not on, it's not in the state right-of-way. So there is some flexibility to do something there. So we've had discussions with them, and the hope is that, we can partner somehow to make that work. In my own experience, the state's a challenge because they have their regs and they have their protocol, but you can do a lot. And sometimes it's as simple simple as just breakaway standing, as long as the sign falls down when a car hits it, that can be okay.
And most of these signs, these elements, will either be on town-owned property or private property, so it's not a lot of state property that we're going to be doing, although they will be on perhaps some right-of-ways that state has some purview over. But I know coming from Boston, I go down 123, and there's almost no sign that says coming to Scituate, so.
It's not even anything on 3.
That is
Yeah.
actually,
We're trying to
that's the trick that
work
we
on
have
that as well,
discussed,
right.
and that might be a little more challenging.
You can't get here from here.
From there. Right.
Anywhere, yeah. That type of thing.
There's no Scituate exit, so.
It looks great.
One other thought that I had was, with all our buildings moving all over the place and really the structure of the town changing, what a better time to tell people where the
Timing.
Right.
library is right now, or the police station is, and the middle school. Great.
So Colin, or Mr. Taberman, in terms of some sooner than later stuff, because I think you hear some consensus of part of the board about this stuff, which I echo, and I saw it a lot sooner than they did. But I'm concerned about, we just spoke with the Historical Society, just replacing some signs. As part of our responsibility, just being designated as a cultural district, we've got to stick signs up right away, and those signs have already been ordered. And so I feel like we're going to put wasted money towards that, because this is coming soon. And I don't know if there's a way we can segment some stuff, or I know there should be a rollout and probably media campaign all at once, but, $700, $1,000 is a lot of money to do these cultural district signs now, if in 8-10 months, we're going to be rolling it. And I didn't know if you had any thoughts on that.
We were aware of the cultural district signs.
Okay.
And I understand that the state has their sign requirements and their signage design, so I don't know how much flexibility we have to work with it.
Okay.
I haven't asked that question, but I'd be curious, but I think the program has their specs, and we may just not be able to, work with that directly right now. Their signage is fairly simple, I believe.
So was your budget request for signage for the cultural district in addition to what we're required already to do, or is that?
Do they have a requirement? I'm not aware they already have a requirement for that.
Yeah, there's a requirement for signage as a part of the designation.
Yeah.
I believe it's 4 signs.
Right, and so we're doing that now. It just seems
Right.
that if we have these beautiful thing to roll out.
I would love to do this if they would, or this concept.
Yeah,
if
but
they would
again,
allow
I
it.
don't know what your timetable is to actually, do it now as opposed to all the other things you're planning to do.
I suppose,
we
if
can
they
do
would,
sooner than
if they would allow it, I think we could.
Can't we get a waiver and get it extended to put the 4 cultural designated signs up at the same time that we roll this up?
I'm in talks with the state, Mass Cultural Council about that. So I don't, that's why I'm a little confused about what they're saying, if they really have a standard, because they didn't seem to when I was talking to them. So maybe that could be put on hold, or is it already in?
As I said, we were designated, we're required to do that. I believe they've already, I sent something along to the DPW to do the signs, but I don't know if it's actually been done yet. It's the same sense, I assume you'll be in conversation with the Historical Society on the go-forward, for any new signage or whatever that would at least, or maybe keep their new sign, but complement, have something similar here as far as the
intent
wayfinding.
For wayfinding, it would have its own purpose. For designations, I think the hope would be, because, they've obviously invested their funds, that there would be a rollover. The idea of the kit of parts is it would be available, the specifications would be there, and you could, borrow from it to make it work. And some of these sign components would just basically phase out over time. I do think the cultural district would be a great opportunity if we have that opportunity. It is, as I understand, the state makes the designation, and they do for all cultural districts, require them to put the signs up. It's part of their program and part of, I think, what they consider the partnership. We designated you, you put the signs up.
So Laura, maybe you can talk to Kevin tomorrow and see if he ordered them yet?
Yeah, I certainly can. Yeah.
Right. Good. Any other questions for them? Right? Thank you. Great job.
Thank you. Looks
Love
great.
the concept, and like you said, even color and font. I know that the high school is trying to do that now, too, saying, like, our Scituate colors are, whatever, 552 blue and, you know,
get that,
whatever.
And we've
Time's
been
up.
doing it for our fleet for the last 5 years. We used to have a green truck for grounds, a blue truck for water, I don't know what the color was for sewer. They've all been blue or white for the past 5 years, so.
Great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tony, before you move on, I was just gonna say, along those lines, have you seen what the residents have done in Scituate Trail? Talking about signage coming up 3A, you haven't seen it?
On what?
On 3A, coming to work from your house?
What am I looking at?
Next time you go by the water treatment plant, look on the Scituate Trail development. It was a partnership between the neighbors and the town to do a field stone entrance for Scituate Trail, and it's starting to take shape now. It looks awesome. Yeah. It's really good.
Oh, right up here.
Scituate Trail?
Yeah.
Near the ball field.
You seen it, John?
I saw they put in, they had something covered, I hadn't actually seen what it looks like.
It's really nice, real nice, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Great job, Mark.
Merry Christmas.
The next item, 820,
It would be great.
is coastal erosion grant contract. Nancy Durfee? How are you, Nancy?
Good, how are you?
Good?
Thank you for having me. So,
Before you get started, I want to thank you for going and helping all the residents through the
Oh, absolutely.
conversations the other night.
Absolutely. And if they still have questions, they're more than welcome to come, and we'll help them with whatever we can.
Right?
Yeah. So I'm here tonight to discuss the coastal zone management grant that we received. It was for $180,000, and we would like to award the contract. So that would entail working with a consultant to assist in assessing the coastline to determine the most appropriate shore protection strategy available today. So we basically solicited 5 proposals, 5 firms to solicit, send proposals to the town, and we posted in the Construction Journal as well. We received 2 proposals, and we reviewed and rated them. We had the staff, Sean McCarthy, the engineering department. Also, we had Patrick Galvin from Conservation, Laura Harbottle from Planning. Thank you, Laura. And myself, and we also solicited assistance from Coastal Zone Management themselves. Patricia Bowie and Rebecca Haney as well helped with the review. We came up with a very firm recommendation of the Applied Coastal Research and Engineering Company in Mashpee, Massachusetts. They were awarded based on their strength of their proposal, their local knowledge, and their public process that they had put forth in their proposal, and the competitiveness of their deliverables. We received another submission, Enercron, and though the submission was a lower bid, but we decided from the review that we had done that we were concerned about the deliverables and the public process. This community really is very robust, and we wanted to give them the best type of public process we possibly could. I get questioned constantly about what is our plan, what are we doing, and this will give us a way to really reach out to the public and give them that opportunity to help kind of solidify what the plans will be. So we were really disappointed in that particular part of their proposal, and they were also very not as responsive when we tried to reach out to them for questions, so.
It's not a good sign.
So I'm here tonight to.
Great. So again, we've got a grant, we've got to pay 25% of it. This is to go evaluate areas in town that will be best used for the, erosion techniques that we've talked about with the different presentations that we've had. And this will do the engineering, the science, and the assessment, I guess it would be.
The cost and prioritize it. Yeah.
Prioritization, right?
Yeah.
They were the
That's
ones
what
who
we really
came in
need help with.
before, right, during the presentation?
Yes, they're also working with the town on the North Scituate Beach Nourishment Project.
And back in like...
So they're the same engineering group that did that?
They're the scientific firm. CLE Engineering will be working alongside Applied Coastal as the engineering part of that process.
Great.
And they're very familiar with the community.
Right. Oh, they did. Any comments from anybody?
That's great. Move that the Board of Selectmen award the contract for providing science, engineering, and prioritization services for assisting coastal erosion, sediment, transport, and prioritization management strategy for shoreline protection to Applied Coastal Research and Engineering of Mashpee, Massachusetts for $209,915.
Second?
Second by Mr. O'Toole. Further discussion? Seeing none, I just want to reiterate that the amount of this 209, that the town is responsible for 25% of that. So that'll be about $50,000 of it, and the rest will be coming from a grant.
Part of that will be in-kind services, so I'll be working very closely with them as well.
Great.
So we were able to save in that respect, just anytime.
Who applied for the grant? Nancy, did you?
I worked on it, yes. Yes. You're welcome. I'm very excited about this. This is state of the art. It's cutting edge. The town should be very excited to have this opportunity. Even CZM is very excited to be working on this project with us as well. And no other community has done this. We're at the front line of doing what's necessary to make some determinations for the town. So, yeah, it's exciting. It is exciting.
And can Nancy just talk quickly about the drone and what the drone is doing?
Should we do the
for
vote
our
first?
coast? Since she was...
Is it part of this?
Should vote.
Let's complete the vote.
It's not part of this grant, but in terms of another layer of information that's sort of cutting edge for the town.
Yeah.
Let's just finish our vote.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Okay. So it was second by Mr. O'Toole. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? It's unanimous, 5-0.
Yay.
Now, drone us.
Well, John Murphy really has the full credit for engaging a gentleman who is kind of at the beginning of his career in the drone business. It's becoming bigger, as everyone knows. And so he solicited this gentleman, and he came out at the same time as we had the FEMA crew out looking at the shoreline, and he did a complete photography of the entire coastline. That will help us, if there should be a storm or the next storm, we have the current conditions already in place by using that photography. And so that's a very huge deal when it comes to defending the damage that takes place when a storm hits, because it's so difficult to get out on the other side of a seawall sometimes during an ice or whatever the conditions may be, and especially the revetments. They're impossible to access during the wintertime after it's become iced over. So this will really help us in determining what exactly the damage is. And you can, when you see the images, you can see where parts of the revetment have unraveled. You can see that the rocks aren't as firmly tight together. They're more loose, and it's very visible. And I think it'll be very clear for FEMA to see where we have had significant damage, and it will help in the future. And then we can go back and show again, where that damage has occurred after. Yes, and it was...
the person again?
Oh, I'm sorry. John Murphy was the one who engaged this gentleman. He's, a fairly young man who is working with this equipment, and it's fascinating what we can do with it. It'll really help the town.
Did you film our whole coastline?
The whole coastline.
He's out tomorrow too, right?
Yeah.
They're coming out tomorrow too.
So the...
Better get it done before Christmas, because after Christmas, there are 1,000 drones in the air.
I know, that's right. They're going to take them out. So it's exciting. John did a great job pulling that together. Yeah, it's very important.
Well, thank you for all your effort in this. Like you said, it's cutting-edge stuff, and...
Yeah, it is. It's exciting.
It's real interesting.
So Ruth, make sure you say, Nancy said, cutting-edge stuff, forefront of any community.
You bet. We're right in the front.
Don't do her job for her, John.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, we are so on time. Acceptance of gifts. We have a donation to the Council on Aging from the Scituate Rotary Club. Anyone here from? No? Sean, you're sitting to my right. You want to?
Sure. Motion, or you want me to read what they gave us?
You can
All right,
summarize
so
it.
it's Lucille Sorrentino to Linda Hayes on behalf of the Rotary Foundation. They're donating just shy of $2,200 for a new high-def television for the senior center. They recognize all the work that the staff does on a daily basis. And they'd just like to, let's see, a special thanks to you and your staff for our participation and support with the October 11th fundraiser, the Rotary sponsored. And like I said, it's signed by Lucille Sorrentino.
Yep, so they can have programming on it and entertainment on it.
Yeah,
For $2,000, it must be a pretty big unit.
TV.
Official motion?
Yeah.
Yeah. Move to accept the generous donation by the Rotary Club of Scituate to purchase a large screen, high-definition television and speaker for the senior center at 27 Brook Street.
Second?
Second by Mr. Danny. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Moving right along, we have a discussion vote for a one-day beer and wine license.
I'll move to grant Hospitable Hostess a one-day beer and wine license for a Christmas party to be held at the GAR Hall on December 19th, 2015, from 6 p.m. until 9 p.m.
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. We have another one.
I'll move grant a St. Mary's a one-day beer and wine license for the Scituate ASP fundraiser to be held at St. Mary's Parish on January 8th, 2016, from 6:30 to 8.
Second.
Second by Mr. O'Toole, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just a quick, I think a lot of our kids have, or know kids that have done this. This is a great event in town. So on January 8th, I think you said it was?
Yep.
From 6:30 to midnight at St. Mary's Parish Hall. You're supporting a great thing. A bunch of parents in town, a bunch of high school kids go down to Virginia, West Virginia.
Appalachia.
Yeah, and they go rebuild houses and build roofs, and they live in the floor of elementary schools for a week and go and do all this community work. It's
Without the air conditioning.
that area, so.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Appalachian project.
My kids, that's a great
They're always
experience.
down.
So the next one is a discussion vote, the First Parish Church of Norwell, execution of a deed request by Kathleen O'Donnell.
That would be me.
That would be you. Come right up.
I'm working with the First Parish Church of Norwell. My name is Kathleen O'Donnell. I'm an attorney, formerly with Copeland and Page, and have done work with this town many times. I do.
You live in Norwell or?
No, actually, I live in Milton, but it is one of those questions that is a conveyancer's dream. The First Parish Church was looking at their title for their parcels, and they own a triangle piece in the West River and Dover Street that is known as the Tomb Yard, and they couldn't find any evidence of any record title. And so the question came up as to how they could address that situation. It had been addressed in 1908, but the descriptions in the deeds were questionable, and we're not sure whether that tomb yard was included. So that resulted in doing some research and discovering that actually in 1707, the town of Scituate voted to convey land in South Scituate to the predecessor of First Parish Church, the South Parish. And so we are asking for a confirmatory deed for this triangle piece that we think was included in the original grant, but there's a question about whether or not, it just says that the description's a little bizarre.
So you're telling me the town owns a parcel of land?
Well,
right
the
next-
town took a vote in 1707 to convey land to the South Parish Church. There is a question about whether this tomb yard, which is actually holding bodies, was in...
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Has a cemetery yard, tomb, T-O-M-B,
Right.
tomb
So
yard.
it is a cemetery?
Yeah,
There's
well,
actually grave-
unmarked cemetery.
Okay.
lot. And so the question is that we are not sure that in the deeds in 1908, which were from the town of Norwell as successor to the town of Scituate, included this triangle piece. So what we're asking is whether or not the town of Scituate would execute a confirmatory deed to make sure that this tomb yard is actually owned by the First Parish Church.
So if I, just so I can understand where it is, I come up, I've looked at all the maps.
Oh, you did?
Yep, so I come up past the post office on my right.
Mm-hmm.
I take a right as if I'm headed towards the First Parish Church.
Right.
And it's on my left?
Yes, it's right across the street from the church, actual
So,
church building.
It's on my left, and when I get to River Street, it's to my left again, that whole
Right.
left.
Yeah, it's a little triangle piece.
And it's almost 3 acres of land. 2.8.
2.8, yes. It is not taxed to the town of Scituate, if you were worried about that. It's not assessed to the town, it's assessed to the First Parish Church. But as I said, there's no record of how the First Parish Church got it.
Interesting.
So you represent
But it is
the
a
church.
cemetery.
I'm working with David Taylor, who represents the church.
Okay. Any,
So I have a few questions, Kathleen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the 1879 map, and it seems to depict a structure. I assume, is that the tomb that you're talking about? In
Well,
other
there
words-
may have been at some point, I'm not certain about what was actually on this piece, but there may have been some kind of markers or some sort of shelter.
So are you saying that there are actually bodies buried in this?
We believe that is true, yes.
Okay. Wow.
The ancestor of the ancestor of the family members that were buried there came into the office. His name is David Turner, and is in support of this as well, just so.
Currently lives in Norwell.
Yes. Yep.
Right.
So let me ask you this. I know that if we were to do this, first and foremost, I'm curious, because if it is owned by the town officially, I would think that we as a board would need to have approval from town.
You do have a town meeting vote
Excuse me.
in 1707.
I know that.
Sorry.
That's what it says.
Mhm.
But obviously, it's been lost through the ages as to, there was a vote. There seems to be some ambiguity as to whether or not it was actually deeded over. While there was a vote, I'm not sure, I couldn't read the scribble on it because I didn't spend the time, whether it included that, because Tony said that, you know, the marks and bounds of his review of the deeds, they're not the most clear, they're not that clear as far as when he was reviewing the deeds back in the 1600s. So what I'm trying to say is this: let's assume for the sake of argument the town of Scituate actually owns it. Free and clear, okay? You're saying that in 1707 it was deeded over, it wasn't deeded, it was voted at a town meeting to give the land, including a whole bunch of other land,
Right.
to the second parish.
Right.
And now, all this time later, it appears that it wasn't officially deeded over, because some of the deeds talk about a fence and mention...
Well, we're not
something.
really certain, and I don't think Tony was either, because in 1707 is voted, and there are deeds to the First South Parish at that point. And then, and as I said, because of the separation of South Scituate from the town of Scituate, there was sort of a general transfer from the town of Scituate to the new town of whatever land it had in that township. So it wouldn't really be the town of Scituate anymore that would potentially own it. Presumably, it would be the now town of Norwell. And so there was a deed in 1908 from the town of Norwell, sort of confirming the original grant. But as I said, the descriptions were so unclear.
So why would you want to be here with the town of Scituate if
Because
we had deeded over officially?
Because there's a
in 18
question about
Excuse me, Kathleen, let
whether or
me finish
not-
what I'm
oh,
saying,
sorry.
okay? We're both lawyers, I get it. So we're going to have
Sorry
turns
about
here,
that.
okay? I'm up here, you're down there,
Yeah.
okay? So if the town of Scituate in 1888 or 1849, when it finally, South Scituate left officially and became a township, and we at that time said, okay, everything that we owned officially is now yours, then I don't see why now, 170 years later, they're coming back to us to say, well, now we have to do a confirmatory deed. Why wouldn't you just go to Norwell and say, Norwell, you took it over in 1849, you became a township and officially named in 1888, it's the selectmen in Norwell to be able to officially confirm it.
except that it's Mr. Turner's research and our thought on it, working together on it, is that it's actually part of the grant from the town of Scituate to South Parish. So if you've already conveyed it in 1707, when there, then it wouldn't be included in the transfer later on when the town separates.
The only other thing I was curious, because I was going to ask town council, I see town council has actually reviewed it, but I would rather have a restriction. I realize if it's a cemetery in existence, then shouldn't we deed it over with a restriction that it be held in perpetuity as a cemetery?
I don't think that's part of your vote in 1707, so I don't know that you'd have the authority to impose a restriction like that that wasn't voted in originally, but I don't know that that would cause a problem, but...
I'm only saying it because I wasn't sure whether or not it had been built on. I know the lot very well, because I was always curious why it was vacant. And then when I saw this, I thought it was really cute to read, and I actually picked up the Dean book to try to read the history of Scituate, to kind of get a little bit more background that Tony did. And that's why I'm only curious, because if it's a cemetery, I have no issues with that, just providing it's going to remain that way, because the last thing I'd hate to see is if the town of Scituate actually owned property, you know, and it's free and clear, and somebody were to take it and then flip it and then sell it, because it's within the business district here in Norwell, we could use the money for a lot of our issues that we have here. But if it's already, their body's buried there, that's the reason why I'd like to know if it's a cemetery is already in existence. Then obviously it seems to me that it's fairly clear, and I guess, you know, I'd like to know, because I didn't take a look into the issue, whether or not does a vote from 1707 or 1708, when the town of Scituate had its selectmen, or 3 selectmen, or whatever it is, when it wasn't the United States, whether that's still effective, you know, given the fact that it was under the grant of the king and under the, you know, the king at the time, or the queen, 17, would have been queen at the time, 1707. So I'm not sure how you can say a vote back in then, 1707 would be efficient, would still work.
Well,
I don't know.
I mean, as we said, we're asking you to sort of a confirmatory deed in that we think we already own it. And so we're just asking for this deed to clear that up. And I don't think that I mean, I've certainly done, as part of my research on some expert witness work in a town south of here, on votes and things that were taken in 1600s, there wasn't any discussion at the land court that those would not be any good anymore because of the change in the administration of the United States of America. And we've had this issue before years ago with the Muncie case about whether a layout of the street in Scituate, you know, that was done by the selectmen but not followed up by a taking and the payment of damages. That was 17 something or other, that particular layout. So I haven't seen anything that has said that.
So I guess the only thing I have, Kathleen, is confirmation that yes, indeed, bodies are buried there. That's that the land is not free and clear. I know it's called Tomb Yard, because I presume maybe it was a tomb for it, but obviously across the streets where they had the cemetery, where they actually put bodies, unless this was the first cemetery they put prior to going across the street. I don't know.
I don't actually, I mean, I haven't seen any bodies there, but according to Mr. Turner, who's done the research and is a member of the parish, he says there are.
Otherwise, my only other thing would be is I just want to say that it would be restricted use for cemetery going forward, I think, because that's probably what the intent was. When they first gave it, they gave it the intent to be able to build a church there and then use it for cemetery use. Huh?
Like a churchyard.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I agree with John. I mean, because the original conveyance was for the second parish. So if the motion contemplates the fact that it was a confirmatory deed for the purposes of the parish.
Church and its parish and
its
stable,
needs,
maybe? I don't know if that's
and
what I
its
think they put
needs
in.
in perpetuity, at least if somebody's looking at this 200 years from now, they'll see the intent of this board was clear. It was conveyed to the parish for its needs. I think that's a good amended motion that you should include.
So, I think you brought up a second ago, what if the need of the parish was to sell it?
Well, that's why your confirmation of the deed is adding another layer now, saying your conveyance is reconfirmed with the contingency.
What's the intention?
That it's
What's the
in
intention?
perpetuity.
The vote of May, in May 28, 1707, granted the parish permission to set up their meeting houses upon town common and to use their common land in a conveniency for burial place and for also for building a stable or stables.
Parking lot back in the day.
So that's what you're conveying again.
Right. Just
You're just
providing the names in
confirming
for
it.
So do we want to think about this, or do we want to make a motion and...
Well, the town council's already reviewed it, right? So I don't know
What
why.
did they say? What did they say?
He said it was fine.
No, he doesn't see any. I'm sorry. He had to go to town meeting. He doesn't see any.
No, he reviewed all the, I mean, it went to him when we got it from Kathleen, so he reviewed it, and he said that he had no issue, and if you give me a second, I'll...
I mean, it is a
I have an
conveyance
email
to a
with me, so I
church.
can do.
And churches, you know, I mean, they, of course, you know all about that in this particular town, about conveyances to a church, but this is different than a conveyance to the Catholic Church, where it's owned by the archdiocese, archbishop, actually, only. As a corporation sole, this is owned by the parish, so that's a different organizational structure. And so it wouldn't be the simplest thing for the parish to sell it. But that's not the intention.
Would not be? Is that what
It
you're
would
saying?
not, no. And, but I mean, I don't have any issue with repeating the language, and we have mentioned the vote in here. I suppose I could attach a copy of the vote to the deed.
Would there be any harm in waiting 2 weeks to...
You know, let's wait for 2 weeks. I just want to chat with Jim. I want to go over it, because I'm
Jim
like, if we
is
put a
out.
covenant, we'll ask
we'll
to talk to somebody,
Brandon, yeah.
whoever it is in there, because I'm like, if we're going to put a covenant in, the covenant should run with the land.
I don't
want
think
just
so.
some kind of
I mean,
restriction that's
I'd
just
like to
gonna
have
be
it done before the
expired.
first of the year, so, you know,
It's fine, we're going to be meeting on the 21st,
yeah.
so we can get that done in time. I just want to make sure it's with the intent. If that's what the intent was, then I want to make sure that the land stays there, and that's all I'm saying.
I'll check with Mr. Turner, but I can't anticipate that there's any issue with that.
I suspect we're probably having a violent
Yeah,
again.
maybe we'll have a chance to walk it. I didn't go look at it either. I walk the trails across the street quite often, so...
It's literally, that's exactly it. You'll see there's a road that cuts, that's West Street, that cuts across. No, that's, West Street that cuts across. It's right after the post office, and that's a triangle. It's all wooded.
My son went to a school, nursery school.
So, you know, we could just repeat the language that was in the 1707 vote
To make sure that it stays, yeah.
to John?
in the deed.
Right, that's what I was saying, like some form of covenant that stays with
Well,
runs with it.
if we, I'm just trying to think about how to draft it, so that if...
I'll tell you what, Catherine, why don't we do this? We'll meet in 2 weeks. I'll talk to town council. I'll be happy to chat with you.
Okay.
The way I think maybe it would after speaking with town council, and we can get it done.
Does it have to go before town meeting?
Well, if it's a confirmatory deed, I guess the answer is no, because we're confirming what was done.
was already
The question I had was the town vote, I guess, from 1707. I'm reading Tony's notes, Mr. Markella, who was a very good title examiner. That's the ambiguity on his last page, was saying, well, that's where I was running and saying, well, confirmatory deed, I guess it's not sure whether it was included or not. I don't have his full title, so I can't read exactly other than his notes, because I don't have all the exhibits, but I was curious. I mean, it's a fascinating piece of history.
Did
but-
you, how much of it did you get? Just the letter and not the exhibit?
I've got
Oh, no, we got everything.
Yeah.
No, we didn't. I don't have exhibits, like, I got 1, 2, and 3. 4 and 5. I don't know if I have 4. I have
All right, well, why don't we, no harm.
Oh, yeah, I do have it. I take that back. Sorry, I do have it. I was looking at the
But maybe, we
initial
just
ones.
got this package tonight.
Yesterday, yeah.
I do
Right,
have
so
it.
well, can you just put her on the agenda for 21st?
Yes.
Great.
Great,
Great.
thank you.
And John will call you if he has any
Okay.
questions. He's kind of our
Thank you.
Okay.
legal
No
expert.
problem. Why don't I...
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, Kathleen.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Ezra Stetson, you see that? Ezra Stetson.
Okay, moving right along.
Somebody else called it.
Discussion of a sister city in Italy, Ireland.
That's
Next.
Yes.
Actually, at the school committee meeting, we are going to have a sister city in China. They're working on that right now.
Who's going, you?
They're actually doing a sister city or an exchange?
An exchange, but they're trying to work on some relationship there as well.
All right, so this is really from me. As you folks know, in the beginning of this year, right after the first snowstorm in February, I went across to France officially on the first exchange. We've been sister cities with France, Soucy-en-Brie, for 2.5 years now, I believe, I think effectively. And while I was over there, we were talking about what other potential cities or countries could the town of Scituate maybe consider. And during the summer, well, there were a number of people who came up to me and said, gee, I know one country in particular, there seems to be an awful lot of crossover and a lot of common denominators. And so in any event, it happened to be Ireland. And so the various people were saying they would love to be involved. They were asking that about making maybe another sister city with the country of Ireland, and in order to do so, we would need a letter. Marie Flaherty was going over to the west coast of Ireland, because that's one of the areas that they're looking, and to see if maybe one of the towns over in Ireland would be interested in maybe becoming a sister city here. And we start preliminary kind of like dialogue, nothing official until, there's more there to it, but there's a lot of potential exchanges. I know like 2 years ago, there was a basketball team from Northern Ireland that came over, played the high school in Marshfield, and did another round robin with another team. And there are other people who go over and do golf exchanges, adults, and trips, and there's some musical and there's rugby, and, just this past, last month in Fenway Park, there happened to be a hurling exhibition between two teams from Ireland at the time. It's kind of a unique Irish sport. It's a combination between hockey, football, and lacrosse. And, if you don't know what it is, it's kind of interesting. So they were trying to see if maybe we go out and maybe try to make some contact with various towns or communities and start that process just to take a look into it. And that's why they needed a letter. And I said to him, I said, I think it makes plenty of sense. One thing is it's a common language that everybody can understand. There are a lot of people here in Scituate who certainly have relatives, and it may lend itself to further augment the Sister City program, not just for Ireland, but also for France, and it may end up actually adding to yet another country, maybe Italy. And I know that China has been looking to do a student exchange, and maybe that could blossom into the future, who knows. But these sister cities, which are well-known in Europe, all over Europe, and some in Central or South America, they have more than just one town, or one country, rather. They have, 4 or 5. So this is nothing unusual, and it kind of made sense given our town and what our demographics are.
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea.
Anyway, so that's what it is.
So what do we just need to write a letter?
Yes, that's what they're looking for, that she could, and so...
Lorraine, can you draft a letter and we'll sign it? And like, I remember we got, last Christmas, we got the cookbook from Soucy-en-Brie, and they had like 12 sister cities,
Get one.
I didn't get one either.
Yeah, who got that?
It came with a case of wine?
Well, the one from Ireland will come with Guinness,
So.
He's kidding, for the record.
All right, moving right along. Discussion vote on election worker appointments.
You want a motion?
Please.
I'll move to appoint Peter Levitt as an election poll worker and to fill the role as inspector, clerk, and assistant warden as needed.
Second. I will say, anytime. Peter was a great moderator, did it for years and years, and I know he'll do great on this committee also.
Just a little more detail. Mr. Levitt moved out of town for a little while, that's why we haven't seen him, and
Now he's back.
Yes.
Great. Opportunity.
So that motion is by, I'm sorry.
Me.
Second by, we didn't do it yet. Second by,
Second.
Sorry, I thought I missed it.
second by Mr. Ms. Curran. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Next.
Do with all these pink papers.
Next, we have...
Renewals?
No, we have Town Scituate annual license renewals, yes, so we have to read...
I'll move the Board of Selectmen vote to renew the following restaurant all alcohol licenses for 2016. The Barker Tavern, Riva Restaurant, Scituate Tavern, the Gannett Grill, the River Club, the Mill Wharf, Oral Restaurant, PJ's Country House, Galley, Tiki O'Malley's, Little's Walk, Rivershed.
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
A note on that, Tesoro's closed, just so that you notice it's not on the list, but it is open.
Okay.
You want to do a couple, and then we'll...
Sure. I'll move the Board of Selectmen vote to renew the following restaurant, wine, malt licenses for 2016. Cosmos Cafe, Sans Zen Cafe Restaurant.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move the Board of Selectmen vote to renew the following retail package store all alcohol licenses for 2016. Harborside Wines and Spirits, contingent upon payment of taxes owed. Reynolds Package Store, Scituate Package Store.
Second by...
Me.
Mr. Harris. All in favor? Aye.
I move the Board of Selectmen vote to renew the following retail package store wine and malt licenses for 2016. Sans Zen Cafe Retail, Tedeschi Food Shops, the Mulaney's contingent upon payment of taxes owed, Stillwater's Wine and Gourmet, the Village Market.
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Hold on, further
I have a
discussion?
I have a question.
Stillwater?
Yeah, why would we
Renewing
Doing
Stillwater for
Stillwater.
16.
Because
We,
in case the liquor license doesn't come through the second week of January, their license would expire and they would be allowed to sell liquor.
but what happens to,
What happens is it's prorated, the difference in price between the wine and malt and the all alcohol.
no, that's not what I mean. So what happens is, so if we renew this and something does go askew, then Dan McAdams out of business, right?
Well, he can get the all liquor license, wouldn't he?
Well, we
He'd have to
renew
apply to the
seasonal
all.
licenses at a different time. We would renew a seasonal license at a different time.
It's all right, his was contingent upon her turning it in anyway, so.
Right.
That's what I'm saying, so I'm confused, but,
Well, let's talk it out.
okay.
So, we're wondering why we're renewing her license.
Correct.
Her intention is
As
to...
we said, either way, we're going to have, her license would be back to us by the 31st, at worst-case scenario.
He doesn't have an annual license, so his doesn't expire by December 31st.
But his is going to expire clearly on January 15th.
Right.
And that means he
So
can no
that's
longer
separate.
sell.
Right, so he doesn't fall under the annual renewal process, which this is, because he doesn't have an annual license. He has a seasonal license, which we would begin that process in January should it become necessary.
So if all goes well, we will approve his beer and wine January 10th. Let's say we meet on January 10th.
Correct.
For the year.
Correct.
And he has a seasonal beer and wine, right?
But it expires on the 15th.
So
Yeah.
you can give him a one-day beer and wine license up to 30 days.
Oh, good.
I wouldn't, it's not.
I think
but
if we
you can
don't,
do- yeah.
if we don't do this, and she doesn't get that done in time, then she won't be able to stay in.
Continue, yeah.
So, just so that you understand, I think one of the concerns that maybe, because I talked to Dan, one of the things that right now is by getting the year-round, his stock will continue to be there.
He doesn't have to remove
He
it.
doesn't have to, and they'll take it on. What they normally do is the distributors will begin to kind of wind it down and prevent it. So we may run into a 30-day, give it to him, because he's probably going to be ordering a lot of stock to maintain it on the chance that it's
Yeah,
happening.
and it's really up to the ABCC, but, I mean, if that has to happen, you can give him
Then we can do it.
30-day, one-day beer and wine.
Is there a way of
Our intention
extending his seasonal? Not just the one day, is there a way of just extending the seasonal, or are we at the max? We're at the max?
It's at the maximum already.
God, this is, okay.
It's basically,
I don't think it's an issue.
it could be, but right now, if everything works out the way it's going to, it's not going to.
Okay.
It could,
You mad at me?
But-
We've done everything in our power.
Yeah, he's mad at you.
to hedge everything.
It's all just been timing, really?
It's just timing.
Okay, okay.
And we're working with the ABCC on the timing issues as well. I've had calls into them yesterday and today.
It'll work out.
Best friends with them at the ABC.
They're very good people to work with, they're very helpful.
Are you fine?
Yeah.
Great. We have second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
I'll move the Board of Selectmen vote to renew the following VFW Club all alcohol license for 2016, Scituate Post number 3169.
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
I move the Board of Selectmen vote to renew the following club all alcohol licenses for 2016, Scituate Country Club, Scituate Harbor Yacht Club, Hadley Country Club.
Second.
Second by Ms. Kern. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
I move the Board of Selectmen vote to renew the following club wine and malt licenses for 2016, Scituate Racket and Fitness.
Second.
Second by Mr. O'Toole. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
I'm sorry.
You good?
Yeah.
Good.
I'll go. No, I'll move the Board of Selectmen vote to renew the following common vicular licenses for 2016. Cersei's Grotto, Coffee Corner, CP's Wood Fired Pizza, Dad's Place, Dribbles, Driftway Dunkin' Donuts, Egypt Country Store, Harbor Donuts, Nona's Homemade, Harbor House of Pizza, Hennessy News, Inn at Scituate Harbor, Sam's on the Harbor, Lucky Finn, Maria's, Mary Lou's News, Morning Glory's Bakery, Pete's Mediterranean Fresh, Quench Juicery, Ronnie Schoen General Store, Scituate Lobster Pound, Creole contingent upon payment of taxes owed, The Silent Chef, South Shore Cinemas, Wilbur's North, Sandhills General Store, Cliffside, The Barker Tavern, Riva Restaurant, Scituate Tavern, Cosmos Cafe, The Gannett Grill, The River Club, Hatherley Golf Club, The Mill Wharf, Oral Restaurant, The Village Market, PJ's Country House, Reynolds Package Store, VFW Post number 3169, Scituate Racket and Fitness, Scituate Country Club, Scituate Harbor Yacht Club, San Zeng Cafe, Restaurant, Galley, TK O'Malley's, Tedeschi Food Shops, Little's Walk, and The Rivershed.
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye, it's unanimous.
I move the Board of Selectmen vote to renew the following entertainment licenses for 2016. The Barker Tavern, Riva, PJ's Country House, The River Club, Hadley Country Club, Scituate Post number 3169, Scituate Country Club, Scituate Harbor Yacht Club, TK O'Malley's, The Mill Wharf, Galley, Rivershed.
Second by Mr. Harris.
A couple of questions.
Further discussion? Mr. O'Toole?
Yeah, so the entertainment licenses, but some of them are outside licenses, some of them are inside only. Is there a specification?
There is on their license,
Whatever we,
and there are no changes to the license.
There's no changes, okay.
Proposed here. for
they'd have to come before us.
All right.
Yes, and one may be coming before you at the next meeting to change their hours.
Okay.
But we did not include it in this.
But so it's exactly the same?
Exactly.
Okay, perfect.
There haven't been any complaints, have there?
We have not received any complaints, no.
Because this is what we always say, we have the opportunity.
Right.
Anyone heard any complaints with any of these facilities on the entertainment license?
No.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
I move the Board of Selectmen vote to renew the innkeeper's license for 2016, the Inn at Scituate Harbor.
Second.
Second by Mr. Harris. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
I move the Board of Selectmen vote to issue a bed and breakfast license for 2016, Cliffside.
Second.
Second by Ms. Kern.
Discussion. Where is Cliffside?
It's on Peggotty. It's,
Is it really?
isn't that little one on the corner of?
I don't know.
I think it's right on, oh no, is it the one by the seawall breach?
I'm thinking it's the seawall
It's
one.
not. No, that's not.
There's one when you go up towards Peggotty Beach, and you take that right,
okay,
there's like
go
a
straight.
house
It's
right
on
there.
Gilson and
The
Collier.
address is on the license, but I have to find it.
That's all right. Don't worry. No, I was just
It's on
curious.
Gilson?
It's on
Up there
Gilson?
on Third
Yeah,
Court.
Gilson.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Murray's house.
So the bed and breakfast license this is the new one that you and Michelle have been working on, right?
This is.
The lodging license. There's another one in town we're working with that we might have to refer to town council, so.
So this
you'll
is
be
new?
seeing another. Yeah.
Well,
We haven't, bed and breakfasts are required to have lodging licenses. And,
Are there any zoning issues? I don't even know
We
what
used to
this is.
have a few, Tricia, before you came into town. There were a few. They're pretty neat. And they were, I think they were pretty.
Well, there's one up by
more
Peggotty, there's
popular.
one on Oceanside. There's also one that's,
So they're
Closed.
required to have fire and Board of Health and police inspections for carbon monoxide and fire, and something Michelle and Lorraine have been working on to their credit, so.
But to Mara's point that this is kind of new, that they
It's new to
require.
you. We should have been doing it all along.
Oh,
so can these people not operate until they get one in January?
Well, they've been operating forever, so this is really making them legal.
It's probably not a lot of money. It's probably, if it's a small fee, but it helps them with inspection.
Well, no, I think there's code that they have to meet.
Exactly.
That's what, there needs to be inspections, and the inspection's approved, and we license them. It's a nominal fee. We check with how many towns, 10, to see how they administer them and base the fee on that.
And zoning is okay and all that?
Well, zoning, well, yeah.
They can exist pretty much
Yeah,
anywhere.
yeah,
Really?
As of
I
right,
think so.
yeah.
There was one right on Kent Street and Blanchard Road a few years ago. They were
I mean,
everywhere.
it's great. I mean, our
Right.
concern, they have.
And that one needed,
Yes.
needed
Victoria House, you're
regulations.
talking?
Fire there,
Tory?
we're in fire,
Tory House?
Right.
that Michelle.
The one that's abandoned right now?
concerned about. So we sent them a introduction letter that we know you haven't received these licenses in the past, but it's required by the state of Massachusetts. And we are going to, have inspections and, everyone will be out to see you and blah, blah, blah.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Yep, good work.
So
Doing that.
we have a motion and a second on Cliffside. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
I move the Board of Selectmen vote to renew the bowling and electronic gaming license for 2016 for Scituate Bowlaway.
Second.
So, a second by Mr. Harris. Is that, I saw the hardware store's closed. Or,
It's not
I
closed.
believe
Not
they're
yet.
preparing
Bought.
for sale.
It's getting ready to close. You
getting ready
can't,
to
they don't
close.
have more than one item of every, you can't go down there and buy anything.
They're liquidating.
Yeah, they definitely look like they were going.
I think it'll stay open. Might have
think?
new owners, but that's not our business.
okay, so the bill, but the bowling alley's above it, so
Right,
it's still
Right.
in business, okay?
You can play Pac-Man, don't worry, Pac-Man's back, that's fine.
And the coffee corner's still there.
All right, so do I have a second for the electronic
Second.
gaming license? Second by Ms. Kern. Further discussion, seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous.
What is a movie
Sean?
theater license?
What's that, Tony?
Movie theater one? John's a little parched.
I figured I was gonna get somebody, I thought you'd get more at the end.
Anyone?
Vote to renew the movie theater license for 2016 for South Shore Cinemas.
Second by
Second.
Mr. Danny, doing all the work tonight. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
Because you don't call me.
I will, I'll finish them. I move the Board of Selectmen vote to renew the following Class 2 licenses for 2016. Driftway Auto, Inc., and McBrien's Diagnostic Repair.
Second.
Second by Mr. O'Toole. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
An abstain.
One abstention.
I move the Board of Selectmen vote to renew the following Class 3 licenses for 2016. Ryan Allen LLC, Ray's Repair Shop.
Second by
Second.
Ms. Kern. Further discussion?
Hey, quick question on it. This is for, to sell, is this to like sell used cars?
No, junk.
Oh, is it John? Which one's for
Scrap.
scrap? Which one is for,
One is new cars, 2 is used cars, and 3 is...
Which one is for who? I know you're looking for, right?
well, the reason why I'm
What's the
asking
one
is...
way down in West End?
That's Ray's Repair Shop.
Well, no,
With
that one's
David
gone.
Dolphin, Auto Body Shop.
Plus, that's what that is.
Yes.
The reason why I ask is I remember going on Facebook, not Facebook, Craigslist or something, and there's somebody who was like selling cars from Lawson Terrace or
Well,
Lawson
John,
Estate, and I'm like,
let me
how the heck does that happen without
try to
getting
take a
licensed?
stab at it. What, do you guys recall, people would come in and ask for a Class 2 license? And in the motion, I remember, and I'll use Jim Donovan for example, it allows an individual to go to these auctions where you're supposed to be dealers only.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Okay, great, so you and I can't go, but dealers only, so they buy these used cars. But in our motion, what we used to say to Ted Coyle, Jim Donovan, no, and now it's shrunk, we would say, you cannot store these cars at your house. And they'd have no problem with it. They were just looking for, they needed that piece of paper to go
Get in.
into bid.
I gotcha.
Because without it, you can't go in there. And it's, I think some of these guys found out.
Get our name
It
on it.
was, well, and that's what everyone thought. It was
All gonna get
a
one now.
neat opportunity to buy cars, but then I think it got watered down and they said, it's really not worth
I gotcha.
So,
I was just curious because I happened to see it and I was like, the guy kept taking pictures over in Lawson, the condominium, the actual estate. He'd say he'd have different cars and I'm like, what the heck's the guy doing? Like bringing him into his backyard and taking pictures and then unloading
buy 'em
them?
on
Or
eBay
was he
and
putting
then
them
resell
on, selling them on eBay?
sure,
Yeah.
sure. And you might
Good for
just
him,
have
but I'm just
one at a
curious.
time there, whatever our bylaws
Yeah.
allow. You
Or just a good backdrop.
Right.
Sorry, that was one question.
Did we have a second on that? I think we did.
I think we did it.
Did we?
All in favor?
Talking about Class 3 licenses, it
Yeah.
was a motion by Mr. Danny, second by Mr. O'Toole, Mr. Harrison.
It's just been a long time, I forgot.
All in
Did we vote
favor,
then?
right?
That was Class 2. So Class 3, we just made a motion. Ms. Kern, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. One abstention. Mr. Harris.
All right, I'll move the Board of Selectmen vote to renew the following septage disposal licenses for 2016. All Town Inc., Rosano Davis, P.F. Spencer, Spirito Environmental Services, and Septic Pro.
Second by Mr. Harris. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is unanimous. So now we are on number 6, a discussion vote to open the 2011, April 11, 2016 annual town meeting warrant. I have a motion to open the warrant.
Move that the Board of Selectmen open the warrant for the April 11th, 2016 annual town meeting.
Second.
Second by Mr. O'Toole. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Discussion vote of building permit waiver for the public safety complex and middle school. So essentially, we're not going to charge our own
Charge
buildings
ourselves.
to build on our property.
Well, they've saved all that money. Let's use it and put it into a public safety building.
Move the Board of Selectmen waived the building permit fee for the Scituate Middle School project and the public safety complex.
Second.
Second by Ms. Kern. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it is unanimous. We are now on other business. We have some correspondence.
We do.
About 6 pages, didn't we?
Which, oh, okay.
Who's the clerk?
That would be me, Mr. Chairman.
We have one that's a confidential.
Right.
You'll find it.
I have it.
Just a confidential information in this file.
Right.
So we
But then
don't-
there's one from the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds?
Yes.
Okay. Dear Miss Devon, I would like to invite you to the Plymouth County Registry of Deeds office hours being held on Wednesday, December 9th, which is tomorrow, at 10 a.m. to 12 noon at the Scituate Town Hall in the Selectmen's Hearing Room. This is from John Buckley. He will be available along with members of his staff to answer questions or concerns about any Registry of Deeds matters, and pamphlets on the Massachusetts Homestead Act will be available. You will also have internet-ready computers available to print a registry recorded deed, confirm the status of a mortgage discharge, or check on any filing. And he looks forward to being here.
Great, thank you.
I think
So-
that's about it, right? So he'll be here tomorrow from 10 to noon in the Selectmen's Hearing Room.
You know, actually,
The email blast was sent out
Okay.
to all residents, and it's posted on our
Letter
Facebook.
to in your box.
Great.
It's publicized. And he said he put an article in the Mariner, I'll want to see it.
you know, actually, it's a great opportunity for people if they're really interested. One, to get your deed, and you can look some of your history up, but they actually just put online maps since 1890, so if you're like, have a house that's on a street that may be public, private way or a paper street, you can actually, hopefully they'll have access to it. You might be able to get a copy of it and, you know, go back to the 1910s or 1920s.
I think it's up to date.
Fortunately, it won't go to 1707, but...
Do you think it's
I was
pretty
gonna
up
say,
to date,
maybe.
though, as far as...
Oh, it is. Oh, it
Like a
absolutely
normal
is.
one.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
I use it on a fairly regular basis.
That's the only correspondence I see, Mr. Chairman.
Great job, Madam Clerk. Moving on to acceptance of the minutes.
Will the Board of Selectmen approve the meeting minutes for November 17th, 2015?
Second?
Second by Mr. O'Toole, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Any other business before we adjourn and sign documents?
Three things. First is, I just wanted to say that for those people, I'm sure many of you did, went down last Friday to Front Street for first night, first Friday, and as well as the holiday. It was well done. It was unbelievable. And again, I just can't implore people to shop locally, and, you know, whether it's Front Street or whether it's North Situate, you know, just, or Greenbush or the Hummerock, just, you know, try going there first before you go somewhere else. Keep it local. It's just, they put a lot of time and money into it. It really was done well, and I know North Situate's going to be having theirs, I believe, this weekend, so I'm like, it's a great event to go out and see people. And so, any event, that was the first thing. The second thing I wanted to say was, although they're not there, about Saturday or Friday, I was at the lighthouse, and they had put wooden like a walkway down. Now, they pulled it up for the season, but this is something that apparently I think the Historical Society's been working on to make a loop around the entire lighthouse, and it's handicap accessible, and I have to say, it's just phenomenal, just a great, in the spring, it's going to be really nice. You can walk literally around the whole entire lighthouse.
It would be nice to find out who to give credit for that.
I agree.
Because someone called me to thank us, and I knew nothing about it, so
Put it over this
it's
time.
a great,
Really nice.
it's nice. So if we can find out
It is
who to give
Historical
credit for
Society,
that.
right, Tricia, I believe?
What?
The Historical Society?
Yeah, I don't think we did it, but I'll double check.
Yeah, it's well done.
Pretty sure it's historical, yeah.
Yeah.
And the last thing I was going to say is this, I come back periodically, there's certain things that define your town, and I say that often because it really does, and it really comes down to the people. On Thursday, Thanksgiving, I saw Tony, my son had a football game over here, and so we left the football game, my son and I got them all packed up to go with my relatives to celebrate turkey dinner. I'm driving down the Driftway, and I get in front of the intersection of New Driftway and Old Driftway, which happens to be a little island there for gardening. And I see a gentleman out there, and he's on his hands and knees, digging up plants and planting things. On Thanksgiving at 2 in the afternoon. And I stopped and I said, I knew right away who it was. So I hightailed it around, stopped by, and I said, I just want to say thank you very much, for doing that on Thanksgiving. It was Doug Litchfield.
Yeah.
And Doug does a lot of plantings around Front Street, and I mean, people take this for granted, but here's a guy donating his time on Thanksgiving, and, that's what defines Scituate. That's who you live with, and it's people like that who make a difference. And for those of you who know Doug, you should go out and thank him for doing that. And if you don't, then you should look him up and thank him, because I'll tell you, that just meant a lot when I said that. I said that to my son. I said, can you imagine? And, I felt bad. I wish, I hope he had family to be with. I'm sure he did, a name like Litchfield here in Scituate. But regardless, he was there doing it, hands and knees working. So thank you, Doug. I appreciate it. I saw it, and I hope other people did. And if they didn't, I'm hoping to give you an opportunity that they should. So that's it.
Marty, anything?
I don't have anything.
No, I could share a feel-good story, but I won't.
Go ahead.
You want me to share it?
Yeah.
It's the season. So I, last night, had a package on my doorstep that said "to resident" at my address, which in this day and time could be a little disconcerting, but I did open it, and
There could have been cookies.
it just said "to resident," so, but at any rate, it was a picture of my house from 1909 that one of the previous owners had mailed to us, whoever lived there, to ask to keep it with the home. So I thought that was nice.
That's awesome.
So it's a nice photograph of the corner from 1909.
Wow.
Any trees?
So thank you, even though I know they don't live here. No, really, no trees.
Sure.
Yeah, no trees now that you say that.
Wow.
Not even a road. I don't think Grove Street was even there. It doesn't seem to be a road. Anyway, that's my feel-good story for the season. It was very nice.
Sean, anything?
I can't top that one, Tony.
No.
I'm just gonna shut up.
You're too busy getting everyone's furnace ready for if the cold weather ever comes.
Santa.
So I'm just going to expand on a couple things that John said. Football game was great, packed. It was about Thanksgiving Day game, 60 degrees maybe, perfect day for football, and all the kids back from college and all the families there. Great event. And Scituate won, killed them 30-something to 16 or something, and had a great end to the seniors who played there for 4 years. Congratulations to them. Wanted to just give some thanks to the fire department. Recently had an interaction with them, and I can't say enough about how good their service was. The people that came in, they were very prompt and friendly and professional. So Mark Donovan was there, Bullman, and I wish I could remember the name of the third person, but he was great also. So thank you guys for all that. Staying on the school event, we've got winter sports that are coming on, and just reiterate that the school committee last night passed a motion for tickets to be free for kids in high school and under for all winter sports. So go out and support the teams and have fun at those events. They start this Friday night at the high school. The boys basketball team is here. The girls basketball team's away. There's a wrestling meet this weekend over at the high school as well, and they have some great state finalists last year, so I recommend you go out and support your team. And there was one other thing I wanted to say, but I lost it. So, on that note, a motion to adjourn and sign documents?
So moved.
Second.
By Mr. Danny, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.